hours before I
Right.
finally said, I'm good.
I had all kinds of running around to do yesterday, so I listened. I'm banging between the West Virginia game and the Furman game, on radio, and then West Virginia blew it. And so I listened to the last couple minutes of the Furman game. The radio guy on Westwood One killed it. Like every part of it, he had perfect. It's like it's a resume tape.
Who was it?
Couldn't tell you.
I thought the Furman play-by-play guy did a really good job.
I thought he did a great job too when you sent that. I thought I mean, come on, that's a minor league play-by-play guy.
Yeah, that's us. Right. Yeah.
But he had just led into all the fact that Virginia doesn't turn it over. There's at least they turn it over less than any other team, and they inbound it and they turn it over. And so he finishes the call with the least. He set himself up, and it happened to work out. It was, you get lucky sometimes.
His name is Dan Scott, I think.
Well, that's the Furman guy.
The Furman guy.
Yeah, he asked who the Westwood One guy that did the game was.
I have that call too. Which one should I use?
Furman.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't have any, and I'm beside myself, Ambi, and I can't see a damn thing right now. I'm going to have a headache when the show is over.
Did you just forget them?
I have one pair that I keep in my briefcase, and yesterday I was in the office for real estate having to do a bunch of shit, so I needed those glasses, and somehow they ended up back in my house.
Nice kind of relief. Nice. Solid.
Yep. Tim Brando and Jay Billis, college basketball experts, both at Arizona, winning the whole thing.
No.
That's not a knock on Brando coming on the show and saying it. It's the fact that they don't know any more than anyone else when it comes to this stuff.
Come on. It's a crapshoot, baby. One and done. Anything can happen.
It's amazing.
The fact that Princeton came back from that many.
Twice. I mean, first off, to come back late in the first half, have the end of the half run to cut it to 1. And then Arizona does it again and goes up 9. And Princeton says, that's all right. We got this. I actually had Furman in my bracket.
I did too.
But I had Charleston beating Furman and going to the Sweet 16.
As did I.
Now, we told you 15s have been beating 2s. That's the 7th win by a 15 since 2012. Three years in a row.
And before 2012?
It had only happened like 4 times.
Unbelievable.
According to what I just saw, you went 8-8 taking the points yesterday.
Well, there were some bad beats.
15
the
seconds.
Charleston game?
Well, that's the worst beat of the tournament. I don't see. Who was the one seed that had it covered until the final shot of the game?
It was Bama.
Yeah, exactly. Corpus Christi hits a 3 at the buzzer to cover.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It is Friday. You're not doing much of anything today. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It took one afternoon. That's it. Not even a whole day. Forget a whole round. It took one afternoon for this sporting event to have its mic drop and say, Mark, we're the best damn thing going. The defense rests.
The tournament.
Ah!
The Princetons, the Furmans. It's what we live for on the first 2 days of this event. It's what makes it so damn special. Teams that, if they lined up and played that opponent 9 more times, might lose every single one of them. But Virginia, who doesn't turn it over, the least amount of turnovers of any team in Division I basketball, and their point guard, who's played there for 4 years, just decides to heave one up the length of the court while he's trapped, turns it over, bam, three-pointer. Furman takes the lead after being down pretty much the whole game. Princeton comes back twice to take down big boy Arizona. Oh, man. And so many others that were close. What a day.
That was just a dinner.
Right.
That was just to get you to dinner. Love the madness. Love the tournament. Love when it delivers. And of course it did again. A 13 and a 15 winning right out of the chute. And I got to admit, the only thing that would have made it better is if Furman or Princeton had taken out an SEC team. And I say that because it is Greg Sankey who is single-handedly trying to ruin the NCAA tournament. And so, you know, if it to make it a perfect day, Furman and Princeton would have taken out an SEC team or two to remind Greg Sankey this tournament is not to be messed with. Leave it alone. You added the first 4. We're letting you have it. Dayton seems to like it. Fine. Whatever. True TV needs some programming. People need to find out where it is. You give them an early start. Otherwise, please leave this sucker alone. Thank you.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Miller and Moulton.
And sports fans all over America.
There is no doubt. There is no doubt. It was, with everything that's going on in the sports world, it's crazy right now, free agency and both the NHL and NBA winding their seasons down. When Thursday starts, David, and I guess they're probably what the Valspar even got going yesterday. When Thursday starts, when 12:15 hits, I am oblivious to everything else that's going on in the sports world. I don't care. I'm like Ricky Gervais giving the monologue at the Golden Globes. I don't care.
I screamed out loud. Out loud. My wife had just left the house. She was going on a walk. And normally I go with her. And she turned and looked at me and she's like, "You're feeling better, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "How about we go for a walk?" And I looked right at her like, "Are you out of your mind?" And I looked at her and I looked at the television. I looked at her and she's like, "Oh, yeah." Huh. Like, just like backhanding me. Like, whatever. Ha, ha. Yeah, okay. And so it was really starting to warm up in Jacksonville yesterday, Mark. It's been cold for a couple days. It's barely been 60. But yesterday afternoon, it was getting into the mid to upper 70s. And so I opened up the sliding door to the balcony and lanai and what have you. And the breeze is coming in and the game's on. And I can hear my mother-in-law in her bedroom, okay, in which she's on the phone with one of her grandkids. And all of a sudden, the second to last sequence in the Furman, Virginia game happens. And that kid hits that shot. And I scream. I don't yell. I scream twice. And all I could think of was, because sound carries. When you open up the glass door, you close the glass door, your neighbors are not hearing how you're behaving. You open that glass door. And I thought the police were going to show up in like 10 minutes, like they thought a homicide was taking place.
David, I had work to do yesterday, so I was driving around taking care of a couple of different things, and I happened to watch most of the first half of the Furman game. Had to listen to the second half on the radio. The radio guy for Westwood One killed it. I did the same thing. I'm in the car and let out a loud yelp. More of a yell than a scream, because I don't think I'm a screamer. I'm more of a yeller. But it was a loud bellow that just came out, and I always wonder if anybody's looking over at the car, because I'm going nuts, pounding on the steering wheel for a game. And I couldn't get home fast enough because I'd left the televisions on so I could rewind and watch it. Heard every call of that. Heard the Westwood One call, heard the Harlan call, and heard the Furman call via Twitter.
Did Harlan channel his inner Jack Buck with that? Was that a little bit of Jack Buck?
A little bit.
Was that a little Gibson in the ninth on Westwood One radio in 88? I don't believe what I just saw. I don't believe what I just saw. I thought Harlan was channeling a little Jack Buck, kind of, sort of. Asking rhetorically, did that just happen? Yes. And that is the beauty of sports and how pressure bursts pipes. And this is a fifth-year senior. I mean, he got a COVID year. This guy was a point guard on a national championship team in which they played nothing but close games that year in the tournament. Virginia had one dramatic escape after another. And so you figure, Mark, well, the one thing they're not going to do is turn the ball over, especially when they get the ball back in the point guard's hands. He could hold on to it, get fouled.
He could have called a timeout.
Yes, he did. They still had one.
He could have called a timeout. They still had a timeout.
Right. And obviously they put the ball in the hands of the guy they want the ball in the hands with. If you ask Tony Bennett before the game, 2-point lead, final 10 seconds. He's like, well, I got to get the ball in my point guard's hands. We'll be fine. He'll make good decisions or he'll hit free throws. But by the way, that young man answered every question. Answered every question. Okay. Actually watched the replay of it a couple times and then described what he was thinking and answered every question. All right. That's a college player. Everybody needs to remember that when the pros won't answer tough questions in tight games. That's a college basketball player who screwed up. I mean, it's going to be the biggest sports screw up of his life. It'll be remembered, by the way, for most of the rest of his life by sports fans. And he just looked right into the camera and answered the questions. If you're willing to put yourself in the arena, both extremes can happen. You got to be able to handle them both.
And he certainly did with a lot of class following the game.
And then what about Princeton? I mean, at what point did you think, holy blank, they're going to win this? I mean, they kept hanging around and hanging around and hanging around. But I got to admit, it wasn't until real late in which, like, almost.
You mean when they took the lead by one? Yeah.
Well, even then, I'm like, come on, Arizona's got one more bucket. I think Princeton's going to have to score again.
That's where I was.
And then they're not fouling. They're up 3 and they're not fouling. And the Arizona guy just threw the one Princeton guy out of the way, grabbed the offensive rebound, kicked it out. And I'm like, if they hit a tying 3 right now, why are you not fouling? Jay Wright after the game was hysterical. He said, this is the beauty of basketball. He said, it's Arizona against Princeton. Block shots, Princeton 6, Arizona 1. He goes, late in the game, watch this sequence. And he shows Princeton running. He goes, what's Arizona doing? Doubling Princeton's big. He goes, this is the beauty of Princeton, and this is the beauty of sports right here. They've got you totally backwards. Everything that's taking place is totally contradictory from what it is you think is going to take place. And the fact that their head coach was on the last Princeton team to win a tournament game in the late 90s. Awesome.
Great stuff yesterday. Great stuff. And, I mean, even in the Houston Northern Kentucky game, we got to a point where second half, Northern Kentucky's dribbling the ball up with a chance against Houston. The 16-1, at least in the second half, there was a game.
But that's a bracket buster right there. I mean, you know, some people at Virginia going to the Sweet 16, you know, thought they might be a tough Sweet 16 game. But, I mean, come on. Did you know anybody who had Virginia going to the Final Four?
No.
I mean, I knew very few people had them going further in the Sweet 16. But Princeton, that's a bracket buster. That's a text, you know, from my son-in-law at 5 o'clock going, well, my brackets are over.
Arizona goes down. I think we've heard that one before. Virginia goes down. I think we've heard that one before. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Taylor, you're right. Okay, kids character. Tony Bennett, that program. Absolutely. I mean, they stood up and faced the music when UMBC beat them. They did. Hey, Rick. Safe travels. That's pretty funny, JS. I will say the first game, and I don't, Mark, you were listening on the radio, the Maryland West Virginia game.
Yeah.
Man, I thought that was a horribly officiated game, and boy, did they call a lot of fouls. Golly, that game took
West Virginia blew that 4 different times.
That game took a long time for a regulation game. That game took like 220. Did you see the reaction of one of the Furman big guys? He's walking to the locker room with the coach. I think they were like the last ones on the court doing interviews. And so they're walking off together, and you got the stationary camera, and they're walking into the locker room. And right as they're about to go in the locker room, the Furman player looks at the coach and says, "He just heaved the ball down court."
Yeah, he goes, he just freaking threw it up. No, Ambien. God, no. No. First off, he won him a national championship.
His job for life.
And then secondly, he conducts that program exactly how they want to at Virginia. Playing by the rules.
They would rather they score more. They would like to see the
Yes.
games be 81-67, not
Yes.
67-57. But outside of that,
'96, I thought Kansas put up. I'll bet you Bill Self's on the sidelines for Arkansas. I think he said to Norm Roberts, "Norm, if I need to be there for Howard, you're in trouble."
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5 coming up in about 15 minutes. Got a hell of a show lined up. We will talk
NFL today. Pat Kirwan joining us at 8 o'clock. We'll do 2 segments with Pat, as we always do on a Friday. But in and around that, we'll have college basketball guests. And for those that listen to our bonus hour, we'll even head to Philadelphia and talk with Karl Smesko, the head coach of FGCU. Women's tournament getting underway in full later today. So here's the deal from now on. We tried. You got to give us credit, Mark. We tried all week. I'll bet you there were times where our audience said, will those two yahoos stop talking about a 15 beating a 2? Okay. Yeah, all right. It's happened a couple times recently. It's not happening this time. Look at the matchups. Right. So here's the deal next year. What we all have to remember. The hottest, sexiest 2. The one we think has the best chance of getting to the Final Four, maybe even winning the national title. That's the one you take out in the first round. This year, Arizona. Now, you would have argued maybe UCLA, but once they got 2 starters hurt, Arizona became the trendy 2 that was going to go and do real damage, right? Last year, remember last year, Kentucky's draw? Boy, are things lined up for John Cal and the Wildcats. I mean, for goodness sakes, they got St. Peter's in the first round. Mark, and you've got your Michigan State shirt on today. After all, it's not March, it's Izzo.
Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. It's green. It's
That's
double. They play today. It is green. I'm the only one of the 3 of us that decided to wear green for St. Patrick's Day. And don't give me the fact that you have a white Miami Hurricane sweatshirt on that has some green on it. That's not green. That's predominantly white.
My watch is green. My watch is green.
A frog is green, but thanks for that, Felipe.
It's on my wrist.
See, I feel if you're Irish, you don't have to, but that's true. During a commercial break, I will change the shirt.
No. I was wearing green today. It's St. Patrick's Day. That's all.
I will change the shirt. But you got to go back 7 years ago. But the hottest team in the country and a trendy, not just Final Four pick, they were a trendy cut down the nets pick, was Michigan State in 2016. And Middle Tennessee kicked them.
Thumped them.
Whacked them. Game not as close as the final score of 90-81. 2 years ago, it was Ohio State. I don't know that we were really riding Ohio State to, go to the Final Four, cut down nets, but maybe. But even going back 10 years ago, I mean, Georgetown, regular season Big East champs, had a great draw, by the way. A great draw. They were going to beat FGCU. They were going to beat San Diego State. They were going to beat the Gators. Okay. And then they were going to play Kansas in the region final. And Kansas wants no part of rough, tough Georgetown with lottery pick Otto Porter. Right. So that's the deal. 7 times, by the way, since 2012, a 15 has beaten a 2. 7 times since 2012, a 15 has beaten a 2. And before 2012, it had only happened 4 times ever. So you could draw the line of demarcation as to when there really began to be not nearly as much difference between the 2s and the 15s. It was early last decade. So there you have it. 7th time since 2012, a 15 has beaten a 2. And the 3rd straight year it's happened. Can I just do it one more time? Can I just do it one more time? How about that? That's
I
it.
didn't
I
know what you
promise.
were asking for one more time. I thought it was going to be, a 15 is going to beat a 2, which I was going to allow. But Mel Allen came in, and you just can't help yourself these days.
That's it. Now I'm done. I'm absolutely done.
I'll take the over.
Well, I'd have to ask for permission and probably give up some chips and what have you. I think for me to do that again, I think it'd be like the Jets trying to get Aaron Rodgers. I'd have to give up a little bit more than I want to. But so there you have it. That just keep it in the back of your head when the brackets come out next year. The hottest, sexiest, this team could win the national championship 2 seed. Take them out. Boom. Done.
And we'll get more action today. You can guarantee it. This tournament had no clear favorite, even though Alabama's the overwhelming 1 seed. Once you get to the 2 line, there's no great team.
By the way, how about the star player for Alabama not scoring? I mean, that hadn't happened in a tournament game in 25 years, that somebody averaging more than 19 points a game played.
Well, and he's hurt.
Yeah, apparently he's got a groin injury. So they got who they got in the second round?
They've got Maryland.
They should be able to get by that.
Should be able to.
Should be able to, but hey, it's the tournament. Who the heck knows? Listen, one of the Arizona players after the game was asked what happened. And he said, we had a chance to put him away. And when we didn't put him away, he said, you felt the pressure. You felt the pressure. And that's
and
what
the crowd starts coming.
Yeah.
And everybody there that's not rooting for you is rooting against you quickly.
I love the 65% free throw shooter from Princeton. He stepped to the line with 20 seconds to go. You'd have thought he was Rick Barry, Larry Bird, Calvin Murphy. Okay, honestly, he stood, he looked at the official like, you got to give me the damn ball. I got free throws to make. Boom, boom. Even the announcers were like, look at this guy. He's not fazed at all by this situation. 1-point game, NCAA tournament, biggest free throws of his life. Yeah, give me the damn ball, will you?
They're Princeton kids. They're smart. Pressure doesn't affect them. They're smarter than the other team.
I was going to say, when this game's over next week, we're going to try to save the world. Okay, just give me the ball.
I've got a calculus test I got to take after this game, for crying out loud. Why do you think this is hard?
We've got a world banking system we're going to try to put back together after the tournament, all right? Please.
You're worried about a free throw. What's the matter with you?
My goodness. I've shot thousands of these.
Only made 65%, but apparently when it comes down to crunch time, I'm money.
Right. By the way, did you hear? That's what the Furman guy said on the court after the game. She asked him, what were you thinking? And he's like, well, I'd missed all day, and I knew I wasn't going to miss again. Okay, and I've always thought of myself as a money player. So when he passed me the ball, I said, it's money time. I loved it.
Miller and Moulton. The starting 5. It's our money time. It's next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Princeton was a 16-point dog. The game was 40 points under. That's subtle, Turf Dude. I mean, it's true, but it's subtle. The other thing, though, is while there are 6 16s now and there used to only be 4, there also used to be only 31 conferences, and now there are 32. So, and the extra conference that was added is a one-bid league and not a quality conference. So, yeah, I mean, it is true. You know, there's a chance now that you could get a 15 who might have been a 14 10, 15 years ago, but I mean, I will say, and we were in our first act at the time because FGCU was the first team that made the tournament that year. They won the noon game 2 Saturdays before Selection Sunday. So we spent the whole week trying to figure out, were they going to be a 14 or a 15? And we both remembered thinking, I got to admit, they're a pretty damn good 15. I mean, they did beat Miami. I'll never forget when FGCU won. Larkin took to Twitter and said, I told y'all they were good. Remember Roy Williams had that great quote late in the season? Carolina went to Miami, and Miami drilled them, like by 25. And Roy Williams, after the game, standing in front of the locker, and he says, all I know is this team got beat by Florida Gulf Coast. I sure as hell would not want to play Florida Gulf Coast. Andy couldn't come on because they're playing too early. They're the first game today.
Right.
So I was texting with him, and I said, hey, welcome to the Big Ten.
1 minute.
Coming home next year for you, boss.
DC, I'm not sure.
Will a 3 seed lose today? Now, that's the question. We've had a 2 go down. We've had a 4 go down. Will a 3 go down today?
Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll be talking plenty of college basketball, but also Pat Kirwan joins us a little more than an hour to talk all things NFL. It has been a busy week, and the NFL continuing to make moves even while the tournament is underway. What else took place in sports yesterday and last night? Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
You need to bring it today, David. I paid zero attention to the rest of the world, so I'm really locked into this segment right now.
Well, the beginning you're well aware of. For the 3rd straight year and 7th time in 11 years, a 15 has taken out a 2. Arizona led 51-41 with 8 minutes to go and got outscored 18-4 and didn't score in the final 4:43 of the game. Princeton trailed the whole way until taking the lead with 2 minutes to go, and then got stops, rebounds, and made free throws. 59-55. Tigers' first tournament win in 25 years. Arizona can't win games in back-to-back tournaments. They haven't done it in 8 years. The 15th-seeded Tigers will face Missouri next. Missouri in a 7-10 matchup beat Utah State 76-65. Also in the South region, Furman in Orlando with a crazy final sequence. Down 4 with under 20 seconds to play. A bucket, a steal, a 3. And then they survive a 40-footer, which got a lot of rim but didn't go in. The Paladins, first win since 1980. Hello. 68-67, down goes Virginia. Furman will face San Diego State next with a chance to go to the Sweet 16. I will say 10 years ago, FGCU went through San Diego State to get through to the Sweet 16. So there's a little bit of, a little something going on there maybe.
Hell, at San Diego State's the last time they'd won a tournament game. I think one of the last times the Mountain West won a tournament game was the game they won to get to FGCU.
Well, that was 2013. The Mountain West had not won a tournament game since 2015 until San Diego State held off Charleston yesterday. And for the record, Miller and Moulton picked Furman and Charleston to win. Now, we both had Charleston then going to the Sweet 16. All right, so, the field of 68, because just about all their guys picked Furman over Virginia, and Miller and Moulton. We all picked Furman. Now, the rest of our bracket sucks. All right, it does. But Alabama, bad beat. They were 22-point favorites. They had a 24-point lead. Guy from Corpus Christi's just dribbling out the clock. 4 seconds, 3, 2, and he decides, what the hell? I'll just throw up this 3. Bang, as Mike Breen would say. And Corpus Christi lost by 21, getting 22. Although it's not as bad a beat as the Charleston-San Diego State. You're getting 5.5 with Charleston. They're down 4. They put up a 3-0. Rebound, San Diego State. Charleston's trying to foul them. The officials aren't calling it.
They're trying not to call the foul. They're trying to let the game run out.
And finally, the one official goes, I can't let that go, and blows the whistle with 0.7 of a second left. And so the Aztec goes to the line. He's got to make 2, and he makes them both. San Diego State, winner, chicken dinner, and they cover. That's got to be the bad beat of the tournament, right?
Oh, it was awful.
Can anything be worse than that going forward? Maryland beat West Virginia 8-9, 67-65. So Maryland will face Alabama in the second round. West region, Kansas. I struggled the whole first half with Howard. Blew them out in the second, won by 28. They'll face Arkansas next, who won the 8-9 matchup with Illinois. Bill Self was not on the sidelines, by the way. We'll see if he makes it for Saturday. Northwestern, the winner, Mark. They beat Boise State. A lot of people took the Broncos.
Had to hold on. Boise made it tough on them in the end, but Northwestern got it done. Pretty good guard play there.
And I believe Northwestern gets UCLA next, so the run should end, but we'll see. UCLA blew out UNC Asheville in a 2-15 matchup. They won by 33. Midwest region, Texas had no problems with Colgate. I was the one that thought if a 15 was going to beat a 2, it'd be Colgate. Oh, well, what do we know?
Colgate hung around for the first half, didn't have anything in the second.
And Texas will face Penn State next. We couldn't get the Texas A&M second-round game. Penn State said, have you watched us play in the last couple of weeks? We're like beating everybody. And they took care of A&M by 17. Auburn beat Iowa. Iowa didn't have it yesterday. They started to hit shots in the final 10 minutes, as they often do. They tried to pull victory from the jaws of defeat, but Auburn wouldn't let them. Iowa was down 17. They cut it to 2, and Auburn said, we'll take it from here. And so it'll be Bruce Pearl trying to take down Houston in the second round. Houston struggled with Northern Kentucky. They kind of Heismaned them most of the second half. The game was tied like 15 minutes to go, and then Houston with the 7-0 run, and they pretty much had Northern Kentucky 5-7-9, and Houston won by 11. So Houston and Auburn in the second round. East region, was anybody more impressive than Duke yesterday?
No, actually, David, nobody was. They came out and just throttled Oral Roberts.
A good
From the word
team.
go. From the word go.
A good team, I'm telling you. 74-51, and the game was not really closer than that. And they'll play Tennessee. We all had the Raging Cajuns. Well, we certainly had them in the 11, and they covered. They lost by 3. But some of us even thought they were going to knock off Tennessee. So it'll be Tennessee-Duke in the second round. I think most of us think Duke will win and go to the Sweet 16. Tonight is when the 2 Florida schools are in action. Canes at 7:25 on TBS, by the way. 7:25 on TBS. Canes and the Bulldogs from Drake, Miami, a 2-point favorite. 9:20 tonight on TNT. FAU getting 2 in an 8-9 matchup against Memphis. So the Florida schools in action tonight. Canes on TBS. Owls on TNT. Mark, the Florida Panthers scored 7 goals in the first period last night. You want to know some of what else happened in the sports world? 10 goals in the first period last night in Sunrise. It was 7-3 after the first. Florida beat Montreal 9-5. Panthers just 3 points out of the playoffs, and they got good news because the Rangers beat the Penguins. They're chasing either the Islanders or the Penguins, who are tied. Panthers now 3 points behind both. They got 2 games in hand on the Islanders. You know, the Lightning, remember that rough stretch they were going through? What was that, like a week and a half ago?
It was.
Yeah. They just went to New Jersey and swept the 2-game series from the Devils, 4-3 in a shootout. Stammer with 2 goals and assists in regulation. Boston, remember when they, went through earlier in the week?
They went bowling in Winnipeg. Everything must have worked out.
Yeah, they shut out the Jets 3-0. NBA, Phoenix edged Orlando 116-113. Denver was struggling with Detroit most of the day. They were about to lose 5 in a row. And then they whooped the Pistons in the final 5 minutes, beat them by 19. Good news for the Heat. Sacramento beat Brooklyn 101-96. Heat 2 games back in the loss column, just a game and a half back of Brooklyn for the 6th seed, trying to get out of the play-in. And if the Heat are stuck in the play-in, we kept saying they're going to play Atlanta. They might play Toronto. Toronto's just a half a game behind Atlanta now for the 8th seed. Toronto beat OKC last night by 17. And, of course, we all saw, Milwaukee had won 21 of 22? They'd beaten everybody. Right. So, of course, Indiana went to Milwaukee last night and won by 16. 139-123. Bucks 2 games up on Boston with 12 to play for the top seed in the East. By the way, women's tournament getting underway today in a big way. South Florida in action at 11:30 this morning. They're in an 8-9 matchup against Marquette, and the Bulls are a 2-point favorite. All right, Florida State at 1:30 in a 7-10 matchup will play Georgia, and they're a 1-point dog. Valspar, 3-way tie for the lead at 5 under. Mark, there was a hole-in-one which helped propel a guy into a tie for the lead. Ryan Brem aced the 17th, and he's tied for the lead with Adam Schenk and Steven Yeager. There's a leaderboard.
Best name in golf, Adam Schenk.
Brem, Schenk, and Yeager. Accountants or law firm? What do you say? Brem, Schenk, and Yeager.
It's a law firm.
Okay. What's their slogan at the end of the ad? Make sure you call Brem, Schenk, or Yeager. 3 guys you can trust. Sam Burns, who's won this tournament in back-to-back years, is 2 under. So is JT. Jordan Spieth, who's been putting horribly for a while now, he rolled it better than anybody else yesterday, and he shot a 4 under. Mark, take a look at that. He had like a 70-footer yesterday for birdie. Didn't make a bogey. Made all his 4 to 8 footers. NFL news. You may have heard the Bears have a lot of money. They're actually spending it. They signed former Packers tight end Bobby Tonyan and running back Donta Foreman. I like Foreman. I like him a lot. In fact, 2 years ago, if the Titans had kept him in the game instead of an injured Derrick Henry, I think they would have beat the Bengals and won that game. Gardner Minshew.
Doesn't really matter, though, because the Chicago Bears won't use him to run the football.
Well, it's a new coaching staff, Mark. Okay, a new regime, a new coaching staff. Okay, we need to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
By Halloween, you can say that again. But I'm going to give them, last year's kind of the mulligan year. Lost their last 10, got the number 1 pick, traded it away. Now they got their $100+ million they're spending. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Minshew followed his former offensive coordinator to Indianapolis. Could end up the opening day starter, right?
Yes.
I mean, we don't know what they're doing at quarterback, right? I mean, they're cutting Matt Ryan. Don't know who they're drafting yet. So
they're going to draft Richardson.
Oh my goodness! 1 year, $3.5 million for Minshew. The Eagles. Remember they cut Darius Slay? There's some. Did they cut him or did they threaten to cut him? Did they say they were going to cut him and then they didn't hand in the paperwork? I don't know. But anyway, Slay ends up re-signing with the Eagles. He adds a 2-year extension onto his current deal. So he's under contract for 3 more years, him and Bradbury both. Drew Lock remains in Seattle. By the way, speaking of the Eagles, they sent Marcus Mariota to be the backup. He'll make between $5 and $8 million.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, if he has to come in and play, he can run the ball.
Yep. 100%.
I mean, he's not the passer that Hurts is, but
he's not the runner that Hurts is. But
no, that's true.
That's why he's the backup.
Giants had 2 wide receivers, Paris Campbell from Indianapolis, and they re-signed Darius Slayton. And it's made official. The Mets lost their closer, Edwin Diaz, torn patella tendon in his right knee. That's 8 months. So that's mid-November at the earliest. So he gone. And by the way, the Mets don't have to pay him. Apparently, World Baseball Classic Insurance will pay his salary. So Steve Cohen, I don't know if it counts against their luxury tax or not, but Steve Cohen doesn't have to pay him. And that was the starting 5.
Pretty good little show we've got lined up for you today. We'll get started with Connor Hope, talk some college hoop next hour. Pat Kirwan, Pat Kennedy in the 8 o'clock hour. And in the bonus hour, Karl Smesko, the FGCU women's basketball coach, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, he's the kid who pushed the wheelchair down the stairs? Yes. Yes, it is. There was alcohol involved, right?
When I was a freshman in college, there was a girl in the other hall who was paralyzed from the waist down. She was in a wheelchair. She would get all banged up, and her roommate would take her and just fly or let the wheelchair go, and they would laugh, and she would bounce into things and laugh and laugh and laugh.
That's awesome.
It really was. Because at first you're like, oh my God. And then the person who's in the one getting the, banged around is laughing her ass off. It's like, you can't help it. I never push. Just let the little girl that would do it. It was funnier than hell, though. Did Baylor get in the women's tournament?
Yes.
Are they good?
They're like a mid-seed. They're like somewhere between 7 and 10. I think they only have 19 wins. I know this is the first time in 13, 14 years that they're not going to win 25 or more games. But I would like, for Nikki's sake, for them to at least win their first round game and win a 20th. They played a brutal schedule. They were doing okay till like mid-season, and then it just kind of...
Oh, wow.
What's
Holy
that?
crap. You know where that restaurant depot is? Like when you're leaving the station on the right-hand side before Alico there?
Mhm.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I saw.
Somebody got shot and killed there yesterday.
I saw
Oh
that.
my-
I was driving by for gymnastics I had a gymnastics thing with Maddie, and I mean there was serious police presence in the
Right.
the RVs out there for...
We got 5 seconds.
I was like, holy cow, something big happened. Wow.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. First day of the tournament, full day of the tournament in the books. Women's tournament gets underway today, day 2 of the men's tournament. Where will the upset or upsets take place? We had a 13 and a 15 take down a 4 and a 2 yesterday. What are we getting today?
Which 3 goes down today, David?
So that's where you're focusing?
Well, I mean, we had a 2 go down. We had a 4 go down. Does a 3 go down today?
They're all in action, right?
Right. First one is Xavier and Kennesaw. Xavier's a 12.5-point favorite.
You know, a lot of people are really talking up Kennesaw. I think Kennesaw's had a bit of a magic carpet ride season. I don't want to discredit it, but also they have no tournament experience. If you think that you need that, I will say it's a group of guys who have been together a while. We talked about Kennesaw State because we follow the A-Sun. 3 years ago, Kennesaw State won 1 game. One, 0 in conference. I mean, they went like 1-30. And 3 years later, they're winning 26 games and they're beating Liberty to win the A-Sun.
Baylor's playing UC Santa Barbara. Baylor's a 10-point favorite. There are a lot of people that like the Gauchos. That's been a sneaky pick.
And I think it's because Baylor, how many 3 seeds have 10 losses? Big 12, they beat each other up this year. Is it possible the Big 12's been overseeded a little bit? And West Virginia lost the toss-up game to Maryland yesterday. We'll see.
And then Gonzaga plays Grand Canyon. They're a 16-point favorite. And Kansas State plays Montana State. Kansas State is an 8-point favorite.
Yeah, I want to see Kansas State go. I have to admit, though, you know, Kansas State is the 3 seed. I mean, you think about the seedings the Big 12 got. Kansas a 1, Texas a 2, Baylor and K-State both 3s. I mean, that's heavy lifting right there. And can the conference, I mean, you know, those 4 teams, I mean, all 4 got to go to the Sweet 16. 2 of them got to go to the Elite 8, and 1 got to go to the Final 4 just to live up to seeding. Only an 8-point spread in the 3-14 matchup with Kansas State and Montana State. I think that's the smallest line.
It is.
Of the 3-14s.
It is.
See, I'm looking at a 4-13 game. Kent State's a 4.5-point dog to Indiana.
I was a little surprised that Kent State won the MAC tournament. I thought they were the 3rd best MAC team. I thought Toledo and Akron were both better teams.
But the top of the MAC was really good this year.
It was as good as it's been in a while.
I mean, those were 25, 26, 27 type win teams this year. Kent State's 28-6 for the record. Won 25 games in the regular season. Indiana's got 11 losses. There are 4. 11. Just saying. Come on, you know we're getting 1. I don't think. All right, a lot of people, listen, Mark, you've never worked with anybody who likes Rick Pitino more than me.
Rick Pitino's family doesn't like Rick Pitino as much as you like Rick Pitino.
Well, he's given them reason at times.
Well, that's true.
All right. But you know, I believe if the rosters are the same, if he's the coach, his team wins.
Right. In the IROC coaching series, you like Pitino.
Yes. And I may like him all time in the IROC coaching series too. I mean, I think he's the best. But I don't think he's got the players. I just don't. And I mean, at some point, maybe it won't matter. Maybe it's a tournament and, they're a veteran group, blah, blah, blah. They were the preseason pick to win the conference, and they did.
Yeah,
But
there are people that are picking Kentucky or picking UConn to go to the Final Four.
yeah, I'm not
one of them, but I think there's a talent disparity here that is evident. A couple of years when he's at St. John's, maybe it's a different story.
I will say the game that probably intrigues me the most, 7:00 game, Providence, Kentucky. Kentucky's been just so inconsistent. I mean, do you really know what's going to show up? And for that matter, just how good are they? And Providence had it going on, and then in the final month, they've been lousy. I mean, the tournament easily could have kept Providence home instead of Rutgers. Honestly. They both had awful final months. I think they decided on Rutgers because they lost their star player.
And not because it's the Florida Sports Network, but this is one of those times I'm all in on both Florida teams. The Miami-Drake game is as good of a 5-12 game as we're going to get. Given the fact that Oral Roberts got dusted by Duke yesterday and Charleston lost, it's like, okay, the 12 usually wins.
Yeah, in fact, it's what? All but 1 year in like the last 25?
Right.
So we only got 2 more shots. VCU against St. Mary's. I did pick VCU in my bracket. And Drake against Miami. Now, the VCU St. Mary's game's at 2:00. If you're a superstitious Canes fan, root for VCU.
And if you're a gambler and St. Mary's wins, I would advise you to bet on Drake.
Right. Load up on the 12.
I mean, there's part of me that would just want to bet VCU take the points and get going, starting on this thing and double it down if I don't win.
But in a 5-12 matchup, the smallest line is Drake Miami. Drake getting 2. So sometimes Vegas kind of tips you off, lets you know what should be the really good games and what have you. For the record, Princeton was a 16-point dog yesterday. Thank you very much. 16. I think the Paladins were only like, what, 5.5, 6, something like that?
I don't even know if it was that many against Virginia. It was a way smaller number than you would think for that type of game. But Vegas knows that Virginia doesn't score, and the lines are adjusted accordingly.
Yep, 5.5 was the final number.
That was the final line. 21,000, that's the text line. 21000. Little Kent State love coming in on the text line, letting me know that they have the MAC MVP from last year and the MAC Defensive Player of the Year from this year, and they had close losses to Houston, Charleston, and Gonzaga. Great defense.
Yep. Line's only 4.5. By the way, second to last game of the day also. That's like a 10 p.m. tip.
Which means it's about a 10:20 tip.
Yeah, really.
Because these suckers don't run on time.
No, well, when you got 4 of them scheduled in the same building, and it's a guarantee the first one's going to run late. So that's like tee times in golf, Mark. Once the first groups are playing a half an hour behind schedule, well, better go grab lunch.
Not much you can do to make up the rest of the day. That's for certain. And FAU is a 2-point dog at Memphis. That's a 9:20 start on TNT tonight. Boy, am I rooting for FAU.
Right around the time the Miami game should be ending, FAU and Memphis will be starting. And let's see, let's make sure Purdue, the 1 seed, in action. They're the only one in action today, right? Because Kansas and Alabama and Houston played yesterday.
Yes.
So Purdue's the only one in action, and they're the first night game, if you will. So, like, if you're going to miss the games in the afternoon, but you're going to, tune in at night, little before 7 o'clock, Purdue and Fairleigh Dickinson will get the night session going.
So that's a little bit on the schedule tonight. After what was a terrific start to the tournament, Michigan State and USC get it started today at 12:15. Sparty, a slight favorite against Andy Enfield's USC Trojans.
Money's coming in on USC, though, which is interesting. Lines moved the point during the course of the week in favor of USC. We got one more 2:15 matchup. You got give Vermont any shot against Shaka and Marquette. Shaka, it's he had awful tournament success at Texas. Terrific at VCU.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Vermont gives them a game for the first half. They're an older team. They are not afraid of the tournament. I mean, this is I don't know if this is 2 out of 3 years or what the exact number is for Vermont, but they're used to going to the tournament. I don't think that they'll be at all intimidated by the moment, if you know what I mean.
This is 10 of the last 20, by the way, that Vermont has represented America East in the tournament after never representing them ever. So once Tom Brennan got the Catamounts going there, they've just kept on keeping on.
I will say I do like Pitt in the 11-6 matchup today against Iowa State. I've said that from the get-go. I don't think Iowa State scores enough, so that's probably a lock to take Iowa State today and lay the 4.5.
And I am very fearful because I have Creighton going to the Sweet 16 in a 6-11 matchup against NC State because NC State is the team that everybody circled and said should not be in the tournament. And that team usually wins at least one game in the tournament every year.
Because they're told for the entire week that you've been every day at practice. They're saying you're not even supposed to be here.
Right. They're showing you video clips and everything.
They get to play the disrespect card as an 11 seed going into the tournament against Creighton today for NC State, the Wolfpack. I actually picked the Wolfpack in that game. They've got a good guard play, and Creighton, I think, is a little bit overrated. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. We'll continue to talk more hoops right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. It's freezing in here, Paul. It's absolutely freezing in here. Never understood it. Shane came in the other day and said hi, shook my hand. He goes, Jesus, your hands are cold. I go, because it's 12 degrees in here. Usually it doesn't start getting really cold until 8.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the hour. We'll talk some more college hoops in 15 minutes' time. Pat Kennedy, former Florida State head coach, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And for those who stay with us in the bonus hour, Karl Smesko, the FGCU women's basketball coach, will join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. You into the whole how conferences are doing?
I'm paying a little attention, absolutely.
SEC's 5-1. Only losers, Mississippi State in the play-in game. On that jumper with 14 seconds to go. They had 5 wins yesterday, Mark. Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas.
And winning 2 8-9 games, if you will.
Right. Arkansas is an 8. Auburn is the 9. Missouri was in a 7-10 game.
First win for Missouri in a long time in the tournament, too.
Mm-hmm. And now they benefit because instead of facing Arizona in the second round, it's like, oh, really? Princeton. Michael Fly is an assistant at Missouri. He was an assistant for FGCU 10 years ago when they were the ones as the 15 knocking off the 2. And in the second round, they faced the 7 seed, San Diego State. So I texted him and I said, ask the head coach if you can give the speech going, hey, just because you're the 7 and you're playing the 15, trust me, you can lose. You can even have a first-round draft pick on your team and lose. I'm just saying. I've been there. And if that's too long ago, the last 2 years, the 15 both made it to the Sweet 16.
That's right.
When they win 1, they win 2. And St. Peter's decided to win 3. But that's a good draw, though. You got to and also, not only that, Missouri had to play at 10:40 a.m. local time yesterday. Like that pod is out in, I think it's California. I think it's in Sacramento. So when the Princeton-Arizona game tipped, it tipped at like 1:15 in the afternoon local time. But there was a game played before that. I mean, Missouri-Utah State was a 10:40 a.m. tip. 1:40, so that those of us in the rest of the country could see it. And it got slotted. Yeah, I mean, imagine that. That's your NCAA tournament game. What time are you playing? Well, we got to be at the arena at 8:30.
Nothing like that great atmosphere.
Right.
For the game.
That brunch crowd on a
Right.
Thursday
That Sacramento brunch crowd on a Thursday.
from Missouri, Utah State. Hello. Right. So, and I will say, probably won't be a ton of atmosphere for when they play because I bet most of that arena was going to be Arizona fans.
100%.
But that's a good draw, though. That's a good draw. That's how all of a sudden you go from a virtual toss-up first round game and you go into a deep tournament run. You win your game and turn around and go, wait a minute, I'm sorry, who won? We're playing who?
But don't take the 15s lightly, as we've been pointing out here all week long on Miller and Moulton.
But Big Ten went 3-2. Maryland, Penn State, Northwestern winners. You know, Maryland, Penn State were both not expected to win. Technically, they were the 9 and the 10. And Northwestern was the 7. So, but then again, Iowa lost an 8-9 game, and so did Illinois.
And both got worked. They came back late to make the games closer than they really were throughout.
You know, ACC went 2-1. The one's Virginia. Ouch. Pac-12 went 2-1. The one's Arizona. Ouch. You know.
What did the Big 12 do?
Big 12's 2-1.
Okay. A lot more Big 12 action today then, as they ended up with 8, right?
Did they end up with 8? Because Oklahoma State didn't get in. Tech didn't get in. Oklahoma didn't get in.
Maybe they ended up with 7 then.
I think everybody else got in. So there you have it.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Felipe, what do you got for us today?
Well, you know it. We go to Orlando, where the madness began early yesterday. The Paladins, shocking the world, defeating Virginia on this crazy play call, courtesy of Paladins radio play-by-play announcer Dan Scott.
Inbounder. Clark gets it in, gets it back with 10. Clark double teamed along the baseline, throws it up the floor, intercepted by Haynes. Pegues for 3 and the win. He got it with 2.2 to go. 68-67 Paladins. Virginia calls its final timeout. They get it into Beekman on the right side. His 3 on the way. No! And Furman wins it. Furman wins it. J.P. Pegues getting mobbed by his teammates right here in front of us. The Paladins win it 68-67 and knock Virginia out of the tournament. Furman's first appearance since 1980 will not be one and done. Tom Van Hoy, look at this scene here on the floor.
What was the play-by-play guy's name again?
Dan Scott.
Dan Scott killed it.
Yes, he did.
Biggest call he'll ever make, and he nailed it. Can send that resume tape around to better schools if he wants a job and maybe leave Greenville, South Carolina, where Furman is.
Outstanding inflection as that pass is in the air. The shock, incredulousness you can hear in his voice when he says, and he heaves it down court, and it's intercepted. And when you think about it, Virginia inbounds with what, 12?
Yes.
The guy gives it right back. So they, you know, Furman didn't foul on the touch. And they probably wanted to foul the guy who caught the ball. So now it's back in the point guard's hands. They trap him. They're down 2. Furman doesn't have any timeouts left. And they're not fouling him. And the time is ticking. 8, 7. And the whole, you know, for a split second there, I'm thinking to myself, well, you got to foul. But they didn't. And then he makes the pass that no one thinks he's going to make.
But if you go back and look at it, there were multiple seconds and multiple chances for Furman to foul.
Particularly if you think about it, David. What do you do in situations like this? You trap the inbounds pass. If you can't get the inbounds pass, then what do? You immediately foul. In 99 times out of 100, you're going to see that player get fouled on that pass back because you're trying to trap the inbounds play. When that doesn't happen, usually you make the foul. But they passed it back and he dribbled to the corner. They were able to trap him. But as you pointed out, time's ticking away here.
Right. So they don't foul, they trap, and they ended up with more poise at the end than Virginia. Because if he just holds on to the ball, they're going to have to foul him. And he's going to the line up too. But that's why we love this. It's why we love sports.
And that's our Clutch Vodka. Sorry, David. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch with the K. Go to clutchspirits.com. Hashtag your drink with Clutch Spirits. And anytime you're out looking for vodka, make sure you inquire whether your liquor store carries Clutch Vodka. Miller and Moulton.
Connor Hope's going to join us next, Mark. First time we've ever had him on. Looking back and looking ahead, talking hoops.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Twitter is saying that Harlan's signature good is becoming like Mike Breen's bang.
I got to admit, and Harlan's awesome, and he's as good a dude as he is an announcer. But of the 3 calls, of the Furman call, the Westwood 1 call, and Harlan, I actually thought the 2 radio guys had a better call.
I think that's because of the color commentator that was next to Harlan.
No, I think Harlan had a great call. The other 2 guys had better calls. They were the Westwood 1 radio call was perfect. I've done play-by-play my whole life. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
That guy from Furman's call was perfect. Harlan's call was great. I don't think it was as good as the others. And I think radio's always better than TV because the pitchers are on TV. You're not supposed to be as good on television. You've got this thing called cameras.
I like how Furman wins. They miss the three. Furman wins. And Kevin Harlan goes, Furman wins. And then like 50 seconds pass, and he goes, Furman hasn't been to the NCAA tournament in 43 years. And they knocked down Virginia. Yeah, Arch, my mic was a little loud there. Turned it down a little bit. If it's too loud on the Twitch chat, it'll cut out.
Well, there was on the radio call, they interviewed one of the Furman guys, the guy that was the SoCon Conference Player of the Year, and I don't recall what his name was, David. But he said he signaled the coach to run a certain type of press, and the coach misunderstood him and went to a 1-3-1. He goes, so really basically a mistake of communication is the key to the victory today. He's like, absolutely. And someone just texted in that the Furman coach said after the game that he told him to foul, and they didn't hear him. Post-game coach said he was actually yelling for a foul, and his players didn't hear him. Connor Hope is retweeted, so he should be ready for you, Felipe.
Oh.
HeatCheckBB.com.
I think it might be Heat Check CBB. I may have gotten that wrong.
CBB.
No one's answering the phones this week. I'm calling him for the third time.
He retweeted it.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to join us coming up at the top of the hour. We'll try to wrap up the busy week that's been in the NFL. It felt as if it started to slow down yesterday, Mark, for the first time this week. I mean, who knows? Maybe the front offices, they were watching the tournament too. Maybe that's why they got all that they got done by the end of the business day on Wednesday because, well, you know, they've got brackets around the office.
I loved it. I saw someone sent Phil Steele a random tweet yesterday about taking him on and his bracket challenge. And Phil Steele answered with, I haven't watched college basketball in 5 years. I watch one sport. It's college football. I'll be working on my magazine every day during the brackets.
Wow. See, and we love Phil Steele, and he's kind enough to come on our show once or twice a year. But this is kind of like the athlete who won't ever take any time off and used to play 3-4 sports, and now they only play the one sport. And it's kind of like, listen, honestly, just put the ball down. Okay, go play golf or just. I mean, even USA Hockey now says to even the kids they have in the program, don't play hockey year round. Honestly, take some time off. Do anything. Don't play hockey year round. Wouldn't you say that to Phil? Phil, we love you. Magazine's incredible. Helps us out a lot. Dude, really. Masters, okay, March Madness. I mean, don't be afraid.
I'm with you, but he does one thing. He does it really, really well, and that's his game. But I got a kick out of someone trying to take him on in brackets, and he's like, I haven't watched college basketball in 5 years. We watched hours and hours yesterday. We will watch hours and hours today as the game started at 12:15 this afternoon, Michigan State and USC, the first tip of the Friday action on this St. Patrick's Day. What a glorious day, St. Patrick's Day, the madness. Doesn't get much better than this, David.
No, it does not. It does not. I have to admit, there's 4 main sessions. You got the afternoon Thursday, the night on Thursday, the afternoon Friday, the night on Friday. Well, we got the 2 biggies in the afternoon Thursday. Okay, so Thursday night doesn't necessarily have to deliver. We're still all basking in the glow and what have you. But there is some pressure. Somebody's got to deliver today, though. Right? I mean, one of the 2 sessions, we need a big one.
I don't know if you need an upset. You just need the buzzer beater. See, the favorite can win at the buzzer and still give us what we want. It doesn't have to be an upset. It has to be the chance of an upset. No matter what side the heartbreak is on, it's okay.
Our rule of thumb in this tournament is to take the points. Yesterday, we would have got 8-8 with 2. Well, we went each way. Corpus Christi hit the 3 at the buzzer to cover, but then the Charleston beat with the 2 free throws with 0.7 of a second to go, getting 5.5 and lose by 6. So I guess we deserved our 8-8.
100%. And it looks as if Vegas has adjusted, because the point spreads are lower this year.
Yes.
Than they were a year ago. Vegas doesn't let you take advantage of them very often. And it seemed as if the first 2 days there was a trend of taking the points. And boy, oh boy, did they squash that, because these numbers are little. We've pointed out that Kent State and Indiana is inside of 5 points for a 4-13 game. That's a small number. Even one of the 3-14 games is an 8-point spread.
By the way, we were hoping to have Connor Hope on. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to connect with him. For the record, yesterday, he had Furman winning. He didn't have Princeton. He has a Final Four of Baylor, K-State, Houston, and Gonzaga. That's 3 threes, isn't it?
Yes.
A 1 and 3 threes. He has Penn State to the Sweet 16, Arkansas to the Elite 8, and he thinks, much like you and I both thought we were going to have Charleston Furman, a 12 and a 13 meeting to go to the Sweet 16. He picks that today with Drake beating Miami and Kent State beating Indiana. So he thinks then that's going to be 12 and a 13. Winner goes to the Sweet 16.
I would have loved to have asked him if he thought if either Miami or Indiana wins, how far they could go, because you and I have had that thought with a lot of these 5 teams. It's like, hey, win your first game, you could do some damage, but you've got to win your first game. And Duke didn't. When I first turned that on, I mean, they jumped out like 10-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They came out, and when you're the little guy, it is so difficult to overcome. That's why I'm so impressed with what Princeton did yesterday.
Right. Twice. twice. So they have the run to end the first half to cut it to 1. But then Arizona slowly, methodically stretches it out. They're up 9. Then they hit a shot with 8 minutes to go. They're up 10. Come on. Neutral floor. You're facing one of the 10 best teams in the country. You're down 10 with 8 minutes to go.
I mean, Tennessee did the same thing, quite frankly, to Louisiana. Louisiana made a huge run in that game to come back because Tennessee had a monstrous lead and let Louisiana close that thing to 3 at one point.
Well, because Tennessee, sometimes you can leave them alone in the gym and they can't score.
And even Furman against Virginia, they were down early significantly, and I think they fell down like 9-0 early or something like that. And then they were down late in the game. I mean, all of these teams were able to survive having to make 2 separate comebacks against what's supposedly superior talent.
And remember, San Diego State jumped out significantly on Charleston, and Charleston had to come all the way back, and they tied it with 3 minutes to go. Give the Aztecs credit for finishing the job. Their first tournament win in 8 years. And that's a good, solid program, too. I mean, that's one of those stats in which you go, damn, they've been in the tournament just about every year in the last 8 years. And they haven't won a tournament game? Huh.
Now, they're that mid-major that gets ranked in the top 25, but typically doesn't get seeded according to their ranking. That's when the net and all those things come into play, that they're, on the cusp of being a top 25 team, but they typically don't get the seeding that goes along with that.
Well, right. Like, this is a really good seeding for the Aztecs, a 5 seed. Normally, they're somewhere between 7 and 10.
Right.
So that's what we got going on today. Where will the upsets happen? And I wonder if either upset from yesterday gets matched, never mind surpassed. I mean, I thought Furman was pretty spectacular. And then along came Princeton. And it was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And I will say it again. If anybody alters this tournament, honestly, we need to take them out back and beat them about the head and chest. First off, this year should prove we don't have 24 more teams to put in this tournament. It would water this thing down so awfully.
And one of those 24 teams that would added would beat a team that it's not supposed to beat because it's college basketball.
Right. I mean, we saw it yesterday.
But it doesn't mean they're deserving of getting in.
But the other thing that we have to keep, if they are going to ruin this, they need to figure out a way where we can still have the matchups that we had yesterday. Like, Mark, if they want to create a Tuesday and a Wednesday where essentially all the big boys play in, okay. I mean, I'd hate it. We'd all hate it. But we got to have Princeton, Arizona. You can't have this where now all of a sudden Princeton, a 15's playing a 21. No.
No, if you're an AQ, you're in the tournament. That's, to me, what it boils down to. If you're an automatic qualifier, you're in the field of 64. If you want to play, and I'm with you, David, if you want to play around with the play-in games and at-larges have to play in one time, I don't like it.
Right. Like, if I don't know, if you're going to add 16 teams, say, figure out a way to get to 64. But then the tournament needs to be whole at 64, where we get Furman, Virginia. We get what we're used to seeing. We know the seedings. They make sense to us. We like them. Give me a 5-12, a 4-13, a 2-15. If you're going to add to this tournament, please keep that intact, because that's what we root for. That's what we watch for. We are not going to get excited about a 13 against a 24. That's not going to happen.
Doesn't even make sense.
I
it
know.
Doesn't even compute.
But, I mean, like, listen, the World Cup just announced they're going to expand. We all know why they're doing it. Well, okay. But now that you're going to have what is 32 teams advance instead of 16? So you're adding a round. Huh? Okay. But, you hope you don't either A, water it down, because the drama in the World Cup, I mean, there's the two kinds of drama. There's the, hey, can you get out of group? Like, remember, Messi in Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, first match of the World Cup. And we're thinking, oh my goodness, they have no margin for error. This is how Messi could go out. If you're the World Cup, you got to somehow, figure out how to keep that drama and then have it still be single elimination.
And they didn't, because now the best third place teams get in, and that loss would have meant very little.
Right.
Going forward.
Right. It actually would have been like, wow, Saudi Arabia's got a real shot to advance.
Yeah, they might be one of the better third place teams when this is all said and done. Good for them.
But so Miami in action a little before 7:30 today against Drake. Everybody's going to be picking Drake. Everybody.
Especially if St. Mary's beats VCU in the first 5-12 game of the day.
Because that means the 12s will be 0-3. Charleston and Oral Roberts both lost yesterday, the 12s. So it's up to VCU and Drake. And VCU plays early, 2 o'clock. So we're already anticipating what you're going to hear when you throw on the television at 7 o'clock tonight, and all the pregame shows, no matter what network you're watching, are going to be like, oh, it's a 5-12 and a 12 hasn't won yet.
It's, by the way, it's why, not because I went to Michigan State, it's why I like Sparty today. USC's playing at 9:15 in the morning local time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't think that helps them any.
I'm totally with you. Also, they're not a fast starting team.
Oh, and they're playing at breakfast?
Right.
Now, USC may go win the game. Michigan State's not that good. They have trouble scoring at times. But when I looked at that game, and then I saw that it was at 12:15 Eastern, and the team from LA is playing at 9:15 in the morning, I just thought that was a tough break for USC.
I asked Andy Enfield yesterday, have they had a snowball fight? All right. So.
Had they?
Not that I could tell. But they don't know if there's snow on the ground in Columbus to have the fight with. I would think there is. Storm went through there this week, but.
Yeah, it warmed up, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But if there's still snow there, it'd be slushy. It'd be really good.
But listen, when you're from California or Florida, something like that, and you get a chance to have a snowball fight, that's why when we had Jim Larinaga on, I'm like, listen, you guys are going to Albany. You could have that plane could land, and you guys could have an epic snowball fight.
Most of those players wouldn't know how to make a snowball. They've never seen it before.
Well, I will say, I saw the Miami football team in the Sun Bowl about 12 years ago. They were looking around at the snow going, Coach, you guys didn't mention this in recruiting.
That's why Dion, when he said Colorado's not really that cold, players like, what the hell are you talking? Sell them, Prime. Sell them.
So getting you jacked up for today, hopefully. And we'll see if today can deliver like yesterday did.
On the other side, we will switch gears and talk NFL free agency with Pat Kirwan. Get knee-deep into football next, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I don't know why he didn't answer.
Good morning, fellas.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, he tested the phones the break before in the 6 o'clock hour.
He just
Well,
didn't
I
answer.
will say it's the second day in a row, though, that when we tried to call somebody, they were sitting waiting for our call, and their phone wasn't ringing. And yet we were apparently getting their voicemail. It's pretty weird. Because, like you noted, Connor retweeted our tweet. So
Right.
obviously he was waiting for us. So, I mean, Felipe, think about that. He did not get you left a message and he doesn't have it. Felipe, we're not assigning blame. We're trying to problem solve.
I know.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Did his name come in? Did he say, was it the number? Did he say this is Connor Hope? What was the voicemail?
It was just a generic
number,
voicemail lady thing.
Felipe, could you call me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Pat.
Hi, guys. I was enjoying the great sense of urgency you had for the World Cup. Who gives a crap? I was enjoying David's passion for soccer. Oh, my Lord.
Well, Pat, unfortunately,
Saudi Arabia.
Well, Pat, we had a guest scheduled and we ended up having to fill. So.
Oh, well, I feel bad. You can always call me early. I'm just sitting here watching your show.
All right, Felipe, your call went through. Hey, can't explain it. Brando eventually texted me and said, "What's your hotline?" And he called in.
Say hello to Tim next time you're talking to him.
Wait, what?
Tim Brando?
Yeah.
Yeah, just say hello to him for me. We used to have dinner on Saturday nights every so often. We just would laugh the whole time. That guy's crazy. I enjoyed it. I also did his radio show at Mickey Mantle's for about 5 years on Friday afternoons. Right in the window of Mickey Mantle's on Central Park. Tim loved it. He loved just being right front seat.
Oh,
right
yeah.
around Christmas time, people
Oh, I can
coming
see
by.
that.
Yeah.
You know, Tim is.
We love Timmy B, but Timmy B's a big fan of Timmy B.
Hey, you know what I admire about him? That he's Shreveport, Louisiana, dude, and he's still doing it, and he still gets. Every time someone says goodbye, Timmy, he finds another place. He is resilient.
Mm-hmm.
1 minute.
Who was his partner back then? The Oklahoma.
And he's still partnered with him at Fox, Spencer Tillman.
Yeah, Spencer. Spencer's the straight man for him. Yeah. Ben Benson's Steakhouse. That's where we used to meet.
30 seconds.
That's good to hear you guys. What's new, Mark?
Busy. Little real estate stuff going on. The show. Playing Mr. Mom. You know how it is. Running around from gymnastics to softball to soccer.
10 seconds.
Do you see Vesey at all?
His wife usually brings the daughter more. But we've not been doing as much soccer because softball started.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this St. Patrick's Day, at least if you're listening in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. We're just halfway home for those in the 239, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's time for Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. It's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Top of the morning to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Will you have a beverage or two today?
After 7, when you get off the air, as we see another 21-year contracts being signed, you know, it's the era of the, okay, it took 4 days to get to the 1-year contracts. We're up to 50 of them. We'll be probably at 110 of them, which means all 110 guys will be back in free agency next year. The NFL's got it made, David. It's like they never run out of players to sign cheaply. That's how free agency really works. As of yesterday, we had 15 4-year deals. 15 in the whole free agency. A third of the league is available, and only 15 guys were able to cash in on a significant deal. Everybody else is 1s and 2s. We had one 5-year deal. Do you know who it is, Mark? Who's the only guy to get a 5-year deal? Mike McGlinchey.
Oh,
that's it.
There you go. Boy, it was right at the tip of my tongue too, Pat.
I could tell. I could just tell watching your face it. You were going right through your card catalog in your head. See, that's the pathetic life I have. And you guys actually get to talk about other stuff.
Well, Pat, I was listening to your show earlier this week, and what I found fascinating was that you pointed out that a year ago, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but there was roughly 300 free agents when free agency started. 4 weeks later, there was as many free agents as when free agency started because of all the cuts that are going on. So this cycle continues for about a month almost.
Yep, cap casualties. So many people are right on the edge. Have enough space to be functioning because you have to be under the cap. But as they sign guys, they sign one, release two, sign one, release two, and it keeps going. And we're going to land up. And then at the end of the day, what's the final reality? We're going to have 260 draft picks and throw another 15 college free agents on there. So that means that close to 300 veterans aren't going to get work ever again. That's the weeding out process that happens every year because people keep almost all their draft picks for salary cap reasons. So we purge anywhere from 200 to almost 300 guys a year. And that's why that group that keeps growing, right, more cuts than signings leads us to knowing that there's going to be musical chairs and a bunch of veterans aren't getting jobs again.
Some breaking news. Mike Gesicki, it's gone back and forth. First, he was signing with the Patriots, and it looked like the Bengals. Turns out he's signing with the Patriots, a one-year deal. They traded away Jonnu Smith, and New England signs Mike Gesicki. We've been saying for years, Pat, that quite frankly, the Patriots need to provide better weapons for whoever their quarterback is, and it's a big year for Mac Jones and the Patriots, and when you look at what they're going up against in that division, they got to start addressing the weaponry.
Well, I think the weaponry starts with Bill O'Brien, who coached him at Alabama. And I've talked to Bill at length about it. Bill's very excited to get in there and do some things. As he said to me, we're going to do some stuff they haven't been doing up in New England that I know are his strengths. So I think part of it's weaponry. Maybe Hopkins shows up there. Juju's there now. Gesicki's there now. The AFC East is like, everyone's getting ready for big battle here. Look at all the, if we actually get Rodgers to eventually come here, and look at what Miami's doing, and we all know who Buffalo is. So, yeah, New England's the quiet one. We don't talk a lot about them, and that's like Belichick likes to operate that way. But the weapons will be in place for the young quarterback.
Pat, just simply your take on Aaron Rodgers' appearance on the McAfee show, saying his intentions are to play for the Jets, but the Packers are holding this up. Just your thoughts on the whole situation.
Oh, I always listen to his words. I know his agent pretty well. I think, you get legal counsel on exactly what to say. What he didn't do is rule out any other football teams. My intentions are to play for the Jets. That doesn't mean he's playing for the Jets. Now, the holdup, you tell me, would you have ever gone to out to the West Coast to recruit the guy without knowing the compensation deal?
Well, no, Pat. I mean, Joe Douglas gets a lot of plaudits from in and around the league. And the fact of the matter is he's had 2 top 5 picks and he's blown both of them. And how in the world could he have not worked the trade out first and made Aaron Rodgers part 2 of the equation?
Yeah, so for me, either you go to Green Bay first with your entourage and sit down with Murph and those guys and work it out. And if you don't work it out, turn around and fly back. And then I would have absolutely brought Rodgers into my facility because he needs to see himself as an employee, not an employer. And I'm sure he felt like, man, these guys are treating me the way I wanted the Packers to always treat me. So he'll eventually be here. But I'll say this, and you guys have covered this, the way they wrote that contract in Green Bay is brilliant. They don't have to activate that $58 million until week 1 of the National Football League season. So what does that tell me? If the Jets don't succumb to the request of Green Bay for compensation, then Green Bay quite easily could hold on to him. Forget the draft. They could hold on to him until someone gets hurt in camp and then move him. So whether they do that or not, it's probably not going to happen. But if I were the Jets, you have no leverage now. You just give them what they want. They want your first-round pick. Can the Jet fan sit here and accept that Rodgers isn't coming because we couldn't fulfill the compensation package? No one's going to care about that pick in 2 years if Rodgers comes and they win.
So what do you think is fair, Pat?
If I were the Packers, because that's really how to answer your question, Mark, I would be asking for a first-round pick, and if he decides to play in 2025, I'll take a 3rd. So I want a 1 now and a 3 if he plays.
You do know 15 years ago, the historical comparison was 1 conditional pick based on how the Jets did as a team. If they had made the playoffs, the Packers would have gotten a first rounder for Favre. They went 9-7, missed the playoffs. They got a 3rd rounder.
Right. So what?
Well, but Pat, a lot of deals are done financially, draft picks and otherwise based on precedent.
Well, why'd you go all the way back to that one? Let's go to the Stafford deal. Review that one for me, David.
Well, part of that was getting the 1 pick because they took Goff off LA's hands, though. There was more to that.
Yeah, more compensation to that. Goff is outplaying Stafford. News alert.
Well, and he may end up playing much longer.
Well,
Also,
how about did Stafford's deal activate today? Yeah. His guarantee came through for 55 or 56 million bucks. Stafford. They can't get out of their own cap jail, and now they owe him a guaranteed 56 million bucks. Which leads me to Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas for next year, like everyone says, oh, that's it. They did it again. They squeezed a player under the cap. Yeah, they did for this year. But next year, it's an $18.5 million salary and a $32 million roster bonus, which was guaranteed this morning. That's 50 million bucks next year for Michael Thomas.
right, which is absurd to say the least. Pat, this is what Mark and I were doing, the role play GM and what have you. And
what role did you play, David?
And I actually played the Jets. All right.
Okay.
And Mark was asking for a first round pick.
Thank you, Mark.
And what I said was I'd give you a second rounder this year, and I would give you a conditional 1 in 24 based on how we did, where you'd get at least a third. Okay. Just for him, still being active, you'd get a third. All right. If we, I think
it was make the playoffs was a second. If we got to a championship game, it was a first, is what we settled on.
Right.
So I'm willing to go two picks.
I think that's a great deal and a fair deal. The problem is that you don't have the leverage to request that.
Okay, but now hear me out, and I agree right now. But and yes, in theory, the Packers have till like Labor Day weekend, and the Jets, in theory, have until August 1st because they got to get them in camp. But Pat, Rodgers actually knows the offense better than the whole rest of the organization right now.
Yeah, I'm not worried about camp.
Right. So that here's what I'm thinking. If we're going to do this death stare, okay, June can become July, and I can still just be looking at Green Bay going, listen, I mean, come on. Because the other thing that I'm going to do if I'm the Jets is I'm going to say to Aaron Rodgers, you got to do what Favre did. You got to show up. You got to start making life uncomfortable. Because the minute you show up, they'll trade you.
Well, I love that. That's Jim Miller's theory. Go into Green Bay and start working out.
Yep. Absolutely. Mini camp also. The week after the draft, show up at quarterback camp. You haven't shown up in 4 years. You're showing up this year.
Yeah, he should be in there tomorrow, just hanging around Green Bay. The leverage is owned by the Packers, and the Jets let all the other quarterbacks get signed. So where are they going to turn? Everyone in the world knows they have no place to turn.
Well, they have one place to turn. Lamar.
No, that's
why?
Because first off, I'm glad you asked that question. So now they put a proposal in, and the only one that Lamar will accept is 5 years, $250 million, guaranteed fully. He's not bringing back to the Ravens anything less. So now they write that because they're desperate. So they write it, and now he submits it to the Ravens. Guess what happens then? The Ravens have a week. They don't have to say anything. And now all of a sudden, what if Rodgers comes free? You know what they have to say? No, we can't do that now because we have 250 tied up in Lamar. So you can't put yourself in a position where you end up losing both of them.
I love this quarterback board game here. This is like Risk.
Well,
all right. I used to love Risk. It would go on for days. I loved it.
I did too. But here's the one that's small story, same subject.
No, we got 10 seconds.
There are 10 teams that don't have a backup quarterback. There is nobody left unless you like Flacco.
Miller and Moulton. He's Pat Kirwan. Pat joins us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers. Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. More with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side right here. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did you see all the deals the Blades made the last couple of days?
I saw they made a trade with Kalamazoo, and
yeah, they made like 4 deals.
Oh, Brushy's getting busy.
Yeah, you know, Brad Childress is doing some rehab for his back wherever he's doing it, and he's in there almost every day the same time as the GM there. And he said the GM is on his phone the whole time he's on the table. No, we don't need that guy. Yeah, send me his stuff. He said he was doing more deals than the NFL GMs were doing.
Oh, Brush eats it up.
Yeah. Brad was laughing at how much action that guy's involved in. Well, 6 of their best players got called up. That was a major setback for them. But they survived last week. They had the Friday night game was ridiculous. There were 14 fights.
Oh, really?
It was a bloodbath.
I didn't realize they had that kind of makeup on their team. I thought their tough guys from last year didn't come back.
Newbie's still there.
Gotcha.
He's the fighter. He tried to go down the tunnel with the South Carolina team at the end of the second period, try to beat their ass in the hallway.
Oh, that's fantastic. Love me from 70s, 80s, follow you into the tunnel.
Total old-time fighter. He beat the crap out of this guy on the ice, threw him down like a rag doll, then skated over to their bench and said, I'm looking for 4 more of you. And no one came out after him. Oh, I loved it. I'll tell you, Big John didn't lose a step. He's playing pretty good. Have you, especially you, Mark, have you watched Ryan Brindley's son play yet?
I have not.
Well, Michigan is playing Minnesota for the Big Ten title tomorrow.
Okay. Yep.
Last week was the Ohio State semifinal game. He had scored the first goal of the game 23 seconds into the game.
He should get, I don't know where he's projected, but I think he's like a projected 4th round pick, I think.
Well, just the guys I talked to over at the rink think he's going in the 1st round. He has 32 points.
Really?
As a freshman.
Then he's had a hell of a year if his draft stock's moved up that much.
Yep. And he played on the World Cup team, the Junior World Cup, about 6 weeks ago. He's playing really good. The other kid from Fort Myers, Seamus,
Mm-hmm.
he got drafted in the second round by the Devils last year.
Right.
This, I think, Gavin is going to land up late first round. That's what most of the guys are telling me. Late first round.
Oh, wow. That's something. And then Jimmy Brown's kid, Connor, might get drafted this year. He's not had a very good year in junior. He's he's a grade behind Brindley's kid, but they're the same birth year, so same draft year.
Yep. And my old team doctor that just did Janet's knee surgery, Stephen Nicholas, his son is a full ride to Michigan, playing in the juniors for Sioux City or Sioux Falls or something.
Either one. I think they both have teams.
Yeah, and then he's off to Michigan, I guess, at the end of this season into next year. So. Yeah.
You would think they just run the same reel. We have ESPN on in the background here. You would think after a while they'd run a new reel with Lamar. Every time they put Lamar on, it's the same 5 plays.
Yeah.
It's lazy.
Yes, it is. It's re-racking.
Yep. Well, they're like a lot of places. They're firing a lot of people that do that kind of work.
Yeah.
You know, you start looking around these buildings. Sirius figured out how to fire 475 of them.
And what's awful is SiriusXM's doing just fine. It's that music company they bought a few years ago.
Pandora is like an anchor.
Pandora's the one driving them into.
And so
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pandora's a mess.
That's costing them tens of millions.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Our remaining moments this week with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us twice a week, pretty much through the draft, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, a gentleman in our Twitch chat room who goes by the moniker Canada Relief wants us to ask you about the funding rule, which apparently has been around for a long time. It goes back to when owners didn't have the kind of money that they had now, and cash and making payroll was actually a bit of a concern. And I guess owners are forced to put the guaranteed money in contracts in escrow. So like Jimmy Haslam has until technically the end of this month to put the remaining $169 million of Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money in escrow, and it just has to sit there for the remainder of his contract. Now,
yeah, I think they're going to get rid of that sooner or later. I think the owners are different now, and they got a lot more money, and they're going to get rid of the escrow account. But there's another reason no one's going to do anything at Lamar. Think that one through. You're going to do 250 guaranteed and put it in escrow?
Right, where you can't make money on it because instead of having to pay 50 a year, you have to lock up the 200, 250 at one time. So, but do you think they will change it? Because obviously we got some contracts coming up here and some owners who throw money around like manhole covers in Spanos with the Chargers and Mike Brown with the Bengals, and they got Herbert and Burrow deals to do here. And that means probably putting 200 plus million, into an escrow account. And I don't know if those guys have that kind of cash.
Most of them don't walk around with that kind of cash. And I think it'll be interesting at this owners meetings because the story I keep hearing is that they're going to get rid of that. So you're not going to have to put it in escrow. And you would think, this is really a question, you would think the union would be okay with that. They'd like the big fat deals, but you keep restricting how much money you have to protect, that you're going to see less and less big deals. So I think the owners are rich enough now that we don't have to worry about those kind of things.
I want to go back to Lamar, Pat. What do you suspect he does? If you're of the opinion that he's not going to bring any offer sheet to the Ravens, that's not a guaranteed contract. So there's no point if you're a team out there that, wants to sign him and think you could guarantee 3 years at a nice high rate, but not 5. So if he's not going to take any offer sheet into the Ravens, Is he going to sign the franchise tag, or you think he's going to sit out?
He'll sign it. He's not going to lose at $1.8 million a weekend. That's not happening. His mother will make him sign it eventually. A 29-cent pen gets him $32 million. So he'll do it.
Can we bring up the Colts though? Did Carolina put Indianapolis in a position right now where, I don't think there's an offer the Colts can make Houston to get Houston to trade the second pick. And it's an in-division thing, and Houston's probably like, no, we're going to get our franchise quarterback and haunt you guys for the next 10 years. Like you guys had Peyton and Andrew Luck, and we're haunting us. So if you're Indianapolis, you're stuck with either the third quarterback choice in this draft, or do you sign Lamar to say 3 for 135, fully guaranteed, and see whether or not the Ravens will bite?
Well, it requires Lamar wanting to do that deal, because it's not so much that you annoy them, bother them, or you get Lamar. It's like they're just going to match that deal. So I don't think everyone likes to think people will play that game. First of all, 3 for 135 is what I've been saying on the air for about a month. That's the deal that he should not turn down, but he's not going to take it. And they already offered him that deal, and he turned it down. So why would he ask someone to write that deal, and now he might have to play under that deal? Here's what he doesn't have an agent, so it's no sense here, but he's going to land up making $70 million for the next 2 years on franchise tags. So if you look at 3 for 135, you're talking about that year 3 as a $65 million deal, right? Do the math.
Right.
And you think a guy with any common sense would take the deal, but he's already turned down his home team for the deal. So I asked the question of you guys, does he really want to be a Raven?
I don't think so.
Kirk Cousins going to play on 2 tags and head to South Florida?
I think it's B, Pat.
Me too.
Because if he wanted to be a Raven, he'd have played in the playoff game.
And to David's point, the 3-year deal would give him job security that he's not going to get from the franchise tags, because if he gets hurt this year and blows out an Achilles, they're not going to offer him the second franchise tag. They're 1-year deals. And so if he wouldn't take a 3-year for 135, he's reckless. He's Kirk Cousins. He's going to hold his breath, play 2 years on the tag, and go right to wherever he wants to go. And, how long did it take Kirk Cousins to get to Minnesota at the end of the second tag? About an hour and a half?
Yep.
So that tells you what?
No, remember, it took about 3 or 4 hours because the Jets offered more money and he used them to keep driving up the Vikings offer. So he needed about 3-4 hours.
Well, I agree with that, except I think he had the Viking offer a long, long time before that.
Come on, Pat. There was not legal tampering back then. That didn't happen.
I said illegal tampering. The one that goes on at the combine. If you went to Indianapolis with what I'd call NFL police, you couldn't have a jail big enough to fit everybody in it.
It is my favorite part of the year. The fact that there's a legal tampering period in the NFL is so fantastic, and yet guys get signed 14 seconds after it started. So yes, it is one of my favorite parts of the year. You made mention of all the teams without backups. There aren't a lot of backups left, are there, Pat?
No, there's not. And so for your listeners that are paying attention to that, I am concerned. Here they are. Since these are the teams that have either no one who can win a game or no one at all. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Tennessee, unless you believe in Willis, I don't. Kansas City, the Raiders, the Chargers. Detroit has no one on the roster. Green Bay. Arizona has no one because the starter can't even play for a while. And the Rams. They need backups. So what backups are left? Mason Rudolph, Blaine Gabbert. I think Cooper Rush is still available. Mike Glennon. We all know how that will turn out. Brian Hoyer. Carson Wentz. Oh, was he looking like a shining star right now on the backup list?
And believe it or not, Trevor Siemian got let go yesterday.
Yeah, add him to the whole crazy. Oh, Matt Ryan. Now, Matt does want to play. Some of those teams that I mentioned have got to think about, wouldn't you like Matt Ryan on your bench if your guy goes down? And
Joe
would you pay
Flacco.
him $10 million for 1 year?
Joe Flacco.
Yeah. You got to ask yourself. That's it. So there's not 10 names, and there are 10 teams. And nobody in the rookie draft class is going to be a viable backup. They're not going to be ready to come off the bench, because I ask the same question every time I had this problem. If our starter gets hurt on the first play of the first game for the year, do we like what we look like? Well, no. So it's a dangerous problem. Come the fall, when we're all talking about games and we see a backup come off the bench completely incompetent, we will remember this day.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the change. You can listen to him today from 3 to 7. And he's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West. Dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, have a great weekend.
Yes. You know who won the freak out caller this week? A guy fell asleep on hold and snored on our show for 2 minutes. And never woke up.
A long time. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks, Pat. We'll do it again on Tuesday right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I saw that.
Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, I didn't see it till this morning. I guess the story originated on awful announcing. So I think any other outlet is just kind of repeating it. Yeah, KW, we usually like to wait until first week of May. You know, we've let the most of the free agency come and go. The draft. You know where teams are and cap wise and all that.
Oh, he is. I did not see that, Dad.
Well, here's an interest. Is he leaving to go work for an NBA team? Because he openly talked. Oh, okay. Well, he's
already with them.
Yeah, so he probably just got a full-time gig. Good for him.
Got Pat on the line.
Pat Kennedy is on hold.
That is very weird.
I know. It must be on his side. I don't know.
It's weird though. Yeah.
We got 30 seconds. Top 5 theme in sports. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Our final segment in our syndicated show, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kennedy's kind enough to join us once again. Took Florida State to Sweet 16s and Elite Eights. Head coach of 7 different college teams, a 500-game winner in college basketball. Pat, it's David and Mark, and happy St. Patrick's Day. How are you?
Hey guys, great to be with you. I've spent a lot of time with the Florida stations on St. Patty's Day. In fact, we had a great Irish pub in Winter Park that used to send us corned beef and cabbage because we were normally playing on St. Patty's Day in the first round. So it brings back great memories.
Well, just your overall impressions of yesterday. Furman and Princeton doing the what seemed to be impossible yesterday. Pretty good start to the tournament, Pat.
Yeah, great start. And, you got to look at the matchups. The matchups are what are really key in this tournament. For example, Furman could play the same style that Virginia plays. Very slow, very methodical, hard-nosed defense. And then if you have enough shooters who can make three-pointers, they can make a huge difference. So if I had to pick like 5 games that were potential upsets, that certainly was one of them. And the second one is Princeton. I mean, who wants to play Princeton in the NCAA tournament? And our dear old coach, Pete Karl, had passed away this year. Mitch Henderson was the point guard on that Princeton team that beat UCLA on that famous backdoor play to Sidney Wright. So, a lot of things were going for Princeton. Princeton knows a lot different. And I can see that some guys have kind of figured it out. They're inside players. Their 2 inside guys are big, strong, and can match up with just about anybody. They almost look like they'd be kids playing on Michigan State, right? So Princeton is a very, very good basketball team. They don't run as much of the old Princeton offense, so people are a little confused. So they're not holding the ball, and they're not trying to get as many backdoors. They're just running basic offense and basic defense.
Pat, as I mentioned, you were with a bunch of different programs, you little guys, middle and big boys. 7 times in the last 11 NCAA tournaments of 15 has won a game. 7. When previous to 2012, of 15 had only won 4 times. Does that in and of itself show the talent and where it's going, and that, quite frankly, in most of your day, the talent discrepancy between 2 and 15 was significantly bigger than what the talent discrepancy is now between 2 and 15?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. And that started way back when I was at Florida State, because we reduced the number of scholarships down from 15 to 13. So now what you had is, you think about, obviously, the top 15 guys that would get scholarships. Now that's only 13. That's 2 extra scholarships per program across the country. So now you would have 2 kids that maybe had scholarships to go to the University of Virginia, and all of a sudden they show up at Furman. So that started the watering down of the programs and the teams, and that was done because of Title IX. Well, ever since then, it has changed. I mean, 15s can play with 2s at the drop of a hat. I remember my first year at Iona College, we ended up playing Virginia, actually on St. Patty's Day in the Meadowlands. We lost to them 57-56. And I remember what a big fuss everybody was making about that, because that was also a 2 and a 15. So we just were a shot away from pulling what would have been a major upset back then. But the change in scholarships had an awful lot to do with the distribution of talent.
Well, and actually, you would have been the first 15 to win a game, because the 15 didn't win a game in the tournament until the early 90s, and that was in the early to mid 80s when you pulled that off at Iona. And Mark, just one note, women's hoops, the reason there's not the mid-majors in the numbers that there are in men's basketball, women's basketball still keeps it at 15 scholarships. So the talent has not filtered down in women's ball the way it is filtered down now for a generation in men's ball.
Pat,
absolutely, and that another great point.
Pat, when you look at today's slate, you said you looked at a couple of games yesterday matchup. Are there a couple of matchups where you see upsets today?
Well, I always worry about teams that we don't know much about. So I take a look at Montana State, for example, coming out of the Big Sky Conference playing Kansas State. Now, Kansas State has had a great run, and their first-year head coach has done an awesome job. But, he's not been in the NCAA tournament. Montana State's been really strong the last few years. Obviously, everyone is looking at the Southern Cal-Michigan State game, only because Southern Cal has played so well in the NCAA tournament under Andy. And Andy obviously was an assistant with Leonard Hamilton. He is an outstanding coach. And then the other one, I guess out in the West, you got VCU versus St. Mary's. St. Mary's was the top of the Big West most of the year long. But VCU has really come on strong. They've got great guard play and a tremendous point guard. So I could see a 12 beating a 5 in VCU versus Michigan State. I think that clearly can happen. And the Indiana-Kent State game is going to be interesting. Kent State is really a good, solid team. When you see these teams, that's why I thought Charleston had a great shot yesterday. And because we went through this when I was at Iona. When you have teams that have 28, 29, 30 wins, Charleston had 31 wins. That means that team is really good. I don't care who they've been playing. but that means in terms of turnovers and shot selection and playing hard-nosed defense and rebounding the ball. And so that's what we see. The team I like that people aren't talking a whole lot about is Xavier out of the Big East. I think Coach Miller has done a great job. I think Xavier could end up being a surprise Final Four team. Maybe not so much a surprise to people that know them well, but Xavier is really a good team, well coached, well balanced. So there's going to be some great games today as well.
Boy, I'll tell you, that would be rich. Sean Miller finally getting to the Final Four and doing it now after everything that went down in Arizona. Pat, who's the coach, whether it was your day or now, in which you looked at and you thought to yourself, oh, man, hey, he's the best. He's, is there a coach out there now that you just think, you know what, he's better than everybody else?
Well, yeah, having coached against them, and I was fortunate to beat them all, from Dean Smith to John Chaney, Calhoun, you name it, Huggins, Calipari, and all of them. But the guy that you hated to see on the other bench was Bobby Knight. And the same thing was true with Mike Krzyzewski. And the reason you hated to play against Bobby Knight or Mike Krzyzewski was they taught their man-to-man defense so well. It was called ball you man. And they got out in the passing lane so well, and they took you away from reversing the ball. That those were the two coaches you didn't want to see. Like, I only beat Coach K once. I beat Dean Smith like 4 times. We used to beat him at Chapel Hill like it was no big deal. People used to get a kick out of that. But the two guys you didn't want to see. The only coach I've never beaten was Bobby Knight. I lost to him 3 times, twice in overtime. And Mike, I only beat once out of 10. So, let's say Bobby Cremens, we were fortunate enough we beat Georgia Tech 8 out of 10 games. So you match up a certain way, but you didn't want to see Bobby Knight. You didn't want to see Mike Krzyzewski.
What do you do when you're coaching in a game and you're like a team like Iowa that, lost yesterday? They couldn't make a bucket. When you're coaching a team that relies on the threes and you're not shooting, how do you adjust in a game like that? Because it'll happen today to a team that likes to shoot it and it won't go in. How do you try to adjust? What do you do as a coach when the team doesn't have it going early?
It's going to sound crazy. I mean, a lot of teams don't have schemes to get the ball to the rim, so they don't run necessarily offenses where they're designed to put it into the low post or get there. But you'll hear coaches say this across the board. What do? They tell their kids to keep shooting. So, you only became a really good 3-point shooting team because you weren't afraid to put it up there, and you didn't want the kids to lose confidence and start hesitating. So the first thing is you tell them to keep going to what they go to. And then basically you got to huddle with your coaching staff and says, what do we have in our arsenal? Coming off the pick and roll, should we tell the guys every time you come off the pick and roll, drive it to the rim, see if we can get fouled and get to the foul line. Taking the ball to the basket is going to give you a really good shot at getting fouled in today's game because everyone goes to block every shot. And I'm surprised, our teams were really good with Charlie Ward, Sam Cassell, and Sir, and those guys are getting the ball to the rim. And getting to the foul line. That was one of our big things. We wanted to get to the foul line more than our opponents. So try to get in the paint, try to get to the basket, and tell your shooters just keep on shooting. And that's what you'll hear just about every seasoned coach will tell you.
Pat Kennedy took 3 different schools to the NCAA tournament, Florida State to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. And he's kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. This tournament, some football people are threatening to expand it and make it really, really big. What do you and your fellow coaches think about that?
Well, I know what our generation would have said. I mean, we were hard to pull out to the 68, but the 68 is there. I don't like the idea of this playing game. No matter how they slice it, it's still a playing game. But I just pray to God they don't expand it because it will, in fact, water it down. And what it is right now, it's 68 teams. It's a true national championship. And I hope the coaches are against it because, again, you're still going to get some great number ones there, such as Alabama. I'm not sure about Houston, but I think Purdue and Kansas can get there. So, the 1s or 2s have won this tournament every year. So just to throw another round of games and to distribute more money, I just hope they don't go to it.
Well, we are on your side there. When this thing started, who did you like to win the whole tournament, and who do you still like to win the whole thing, Pat?
Well, I've been a big Purdue fan from day one. Obviously, that's pretty easy because they were ranked number 1. But if Zach Edey stays out of foul trouble, he's the one player. Miller, obviously from Alabama, kind of reminds you almost of a Magic Johnson. The kid can do everything. But I like Purdue. Obviously, their coach has done a great job. He's been there many times. Matt Painter played at Purdue. If Zach Edey stays out of foul trouble, I think Purdue can win it all. And I think they're probably up against Alabama. I think Alabama-Purdue would be an incredible final game.
Pat, only 2 Florida teams made the tournament this year. They're both playing tonight. Miami's in the dreaded 5-12 matchup, and so far a 12 hasn't won. So if you're a Canes fan, you're rooting for VCU, the 12, to win this afternoon, so we don't have that hex going into the game tonight. But Miami, Drake, and then 2 hours later, FAU, Memphis in an 8-9. How do you like the Florida team's chances today?
Well, I tell you what, I obviously like both of them. Florida Atlantic is one of those teams I said when you win 28, 29 plus games, you're a good basketball team, and he did it in a solid league. Not obviously one of the big 5 leagues, but certainly a solid league. Jimmy Larinaga just does a great job. I mean, there's a lot of great coaches out there, and I think he's closer to the Tom Izzo level and Bill Self level than people realize. Jimmy does a terrific job at Miami. He's going to be hard to replace down there. I'll guarantee you that, just like Leonard will be at Florida State. But I know for the fans in Florida, you want your 2 flagship schools to be there. And, and I'm not because I'm a Seminole, and I am a Seminole deeply at heart. But I would be concerned about the Gator program right now. I mean, the way they lost the other night to Central Florida and the recruits they've got coming in, I think Florida is in a total rebuilding. I think Leonard will rebuild Florida State very quickly because of his connections throughout the basketball world. I think in his portal and stuff, he'll go out and get some more kids. I expect Florida State to be back next year, but I'd be concerned if I was a Gator basketball fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally with you. The best players on their roster look as if they're leaving one way or another. And so he's going to have to bring in a whole group of kids right away, or else they could be at the very bottom of that conference very quickly. Pat, thanks for making time for us. Enjoy 1 or 2 on this St. Patrick's Day. And hopefully we can talk again soon.
I'll definitely stay away from that Irish whiskey for sure.
Thanks, Pat.
All right. Great being with you guys.
All right, Mark, I'm going to go out on a limb. All right. An Irish Catholic. All right. Born in Jersey, went to college in northeastern Pennsylvania. Okay. I'm just guessing Pat Kennedy tips a couple today. That's all I'm saying.
It looks like he's going to have a beer or 2. He's staying away from the Tullamore Dew.
Right.
And that's probably a smart move, at least until the sun goes down.
He was the only guy who was interested in Bob Sura. Bob Sura could not get a scholarship offer, and he single-handedly took 4 stiffs to the state final in Pennsylvania. And Pat Kennedy, said, I don't know, I think he can play, and offered him a scholarship to Florida State. And I'm telling you, he couldn't even get like an offer from Marist. And he goes to the ACC and he kicks you know what. That was when I first crossed paths with Pat Kennedy.
Pretty harsh criticism of where the Gator program is, and I don't think he's far off. Those are tough words to take if you're a Gator fan, but sounds true.
16 and 17 this year. You ran Mike White out of town, and the program got worse. And right now, there does not look as if there is a whole lot coming back.
Miller and Moulton, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete. Have a great weekend. Port Charlotte. The bonus hour in the 239 is next with Karl Smesko, FGCU women's basketball coach.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, do you want to cut Monday's promo really quick?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Coming up Monday on Miller and Moulton.
We look back in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament.
And if there's anything else to talk about, well, we'll bring it up.
Sounds like fun. 6 a.m. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Solid.
Mongo, they're favored by a point. Mello, I was not at that scrimmage. The story that I got was Kennedy was at Florida State. He had the Wilkes-Barre connections because of his time at King's College, and that was his alma mater. And Sura was playing there at GAR. And so in Wilkes-Barre. And so the folks in Wilkes-Barre were reaching out to him going, Pat, this guy can really play. And Pat's like, I'm not hearing anything about him. And so, and it's right. They were trying to get Sura a scholarship. And there was some talk that Maris might be interested, maybe Kennedy's old school Iona, but nope. I mean, it was remarkable. And he was single-handedly, he did have one athlete on his team. I don't know if you guys remember Greg Skrepnik, big tackle, went to Michigan, played like 8-10 years in the NFL. Okay. He was not a basketball player, but he was a big athlete on the floor. So he'd grab 8 rebounds and hand the ball to Sura. But I mean, it was Sura, Skrepnik, and Stiffs.
and they went all the way to the state final.
In Mongo, yes, they are favored
by a point.
Adam, you must be colorblind because Mark is wearing green.
No, he said go. Oh. I had this. Yeah, this is about as green as it gets, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, come on, dude.
But those Florida State teams were fun. Charlie Ward, Sam Cassell, Bob Sura. By the way, apparently Jordan's selling the Hornets.
Yes.
Good.
He's been a terrible owner.
Terrible. Now, I mean, I guess he saved the team in Charlotte, but I mean, you could argue they're the worst franchise in the league. Not just for this year, but if you look at them last 15 years, that's oof.
He's got Karl on. I don't know what the hell happened. I mean, everybody else is answering first ring.
I know.
And I did have him test the phones before the show just to make sure because we had such a big show today.
Coach is on hold. They're back in 10. Also, Snyder and Jordan selling. Thank God.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, on this Friday, St. Patrick's Day. Be safe today. Have lots of fun. Enjoy the madness. Day 2 for the men. Day 1 for the women. Speaking of the women, FGCU playing tomorrow afternoon against Pac-12 champion Washington State. Their head coach, Karl Smesko, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right. Let's just go after the 800-pound gorilla in the room. All right. How concerned are you that you've had 3 consecutive 30-win teams that apparently would not have made the tournament unless you won your conference championship game, and 2 of the 3 years you had a first-round WNBA pick on your team as well? I mean, when this season's over, don't you have to talk to somebody?
Well, we've tried that avenue with no success. We've gotten to the point where we know no matter what we do, we have to win our conference tournament, and we should be expecting somewhere in that 12 seed, no matter where our net is or anything else. That's pretty much where we're going to be placed. So we just have to get prepared and take care of what we can take care of, which is hopefully play well tomorrow.
And obviously that's the case, but it also, it seemed, and you got Virginia Tech last year, you played Michigan 2 years ago, now Washington State. These teams, it's a double-edged sword. Not only you're not getting seated where you're supposed to, Karl, but you're getting teams honked off because they have to play you. You're not getting anybody by surprise in these 5-12 games.
No, I mean, every time we play in these games, the other team knows that we're capable of winning. This isn't going to be a surprise situation. It's 2 really good teams, 2 top 25 level teams playing in the first round, and to win, somebody's going to have to play really well.
Is this a classic FGCU matchup in that you're smaller, quicker, and they're bigger?
Well, they're definitely bigger, and we're definitely smaller, and we're a very quick team. But they're a team that really likes to control the tempo, and they only give up 60 points a game. They're really disciplined defensively. Last year Virginia Tech was good defensively, but they like to get up and down, so it kind of played into the way we like to play as well. So hopefully we can, make some defensive plays and get into some transition situations. But they just won the conference tournament. They're playing their best basketball of the year. We're we know we're up for a big challenge, but our team has had a good week of practice, and I think we're ready for it.
What do you preach on the offensive end then, Karl? If you know they're going to play really good defense, is it just being more patient offensively, or your team always looks for good shots? They always seem to be pretty patient. What is it you preach for them to play against Washington State offensively?
Well, we're going to have to maybe work a little harder to get the quality of shot that we want. We're used to a lot of our things working within the first 5 to 7 seconds. And sometimes if you're playing a good team, the first action may not work. The second action may not work. So we better get to the third or fourth action and still execute that at a high level. So those are some of the things that we talk about, is just making sure, we want to push the tempo, but we want to make sure that we get a good shot every possession.
Did the matchup earlier this year against Stanford, does that help you a little bit against Washington State? Obviously, they're not as good as Stanford, but I don't know, they sound similar in terms of size and tempo, and you guys were in that game going to the fourth quarter. Do you think the Stanford matchup, it helps you?
Well, I think it helps when you play some of the Power 5 teams and you deal with their length and the increased speed of the game, so that it's not shocking to you, in the first 5-10 minutes. You don't want to play a quarter before you get used to the pace of the game. So we've been emphasizing how fast things are going to be out there, and, you can't force shots over their length. And, I think being in that situation before does help, even though that was around Thanksgiving when we played Stanford.
What do you do to try to push the pace in this game, Coach?
Well, I think you just got to keep, they're good in defensive conversion, obviously, or they wouldn't only be giving up 60 points, but you got to keep pushing and look for the 1 or 2 opportunities and take advantage of them when they come. So when you get the ball, you just got to be running. And if you can, make some defensive plays, force a couple turnovers, that always helps your transition game.
You had to play the Ace Untitled game without one of your starters. Are you healthy?
Yeah, we're healthy. We hope that she'll be able to play some in this game, and we're right now doing really well. Hopefully, we can get through today's practice and tomorrow's game prep and be 100%.
You guys have been through this. Is this, I don't want to say old hat, and you're always excited about being in the tournament, but is this a little more, as you've been doing this so long, is it a more business-like approach for the girls so that they are expecting to go in and win? There's no, false notions of just getting to the tournament?
What? Even when we won our first one, and that was the first year we were eligible for the NCAA tournament, we went in with that mindset that we're going to win and that we're competing to win. We're not just happy to be there. I think we believe in our program enough that we feel like wherever we get matched up, we have an opportunity to win if we play well. We understand it's not easy. We shouldn't expect it to be easy. The NCAA tournament has the best teams in the country, but we've never gone into any tournament being just happy to be there. And I think our players this year feel the same way. They want to advance, and they have the ability to.
You're in Philadelphia, FGCU basketball in Philadelphia. You've gone there and won before, playing Temple and some of the, the teams in the Philadelphia area. I'm just wondering, you call Enfield, fly, even ask the AD. I mean, pregame place to go, cocktails. I mean, I just anything, Philadelphia, FGCU, it's a special place.
Yeah, I don't believe in stuff like that, but if we go to the Sweet 16, maybe I'll start to be persuaded. So, it's good to be in Philly. It's a great place to be. It's a good trip for our players, but we're mostly focused on Washington State right now and being ready to try to make a special run in the tournament.
Well, thanks for making time for us. Congratulations on all your guys' success this year. And, good luck tomorrow afternoon. And hopefully we'll be talking again Monday.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Karl Smesko, head coach of FGCU, the 12 seed, going up against Pac-12 champion, the Cougars of Washington State, in which FGCU, as of yesterday, was a 1-point favorite in the game. Washington State's net, which is the new rating. It used to be RPI forever. The net, NET, now has taken over in both men's and women's basketball. Washington State's net is 30, which means that they should have been an 8 seed. FGCU's net is 36, which means they should have been the last 9 seed. So this is a 5-12 matchup, which easily could have been an 8-9 matchup.
Good news is, and this is the one area that we've talked about. Yeah, it sucks that FGCU didn't get seated where they should be seated. But unless they were going to get a 7, which they're never going to get.
They got it one time in 2015, and that is marked the shock, I think, within the program. And since Karl's been there the whole time, FGCU made the tournament in 2012. They were a 12. They lost in overtime. They made the tournament in 2014. They were a 12. They lost in overtime. Then that same group comes back in 2015, and the tournament makes them a 7 seed. And they win. They beat Oklahoma State in a rematch the next year. And so the thought within the program was kind of like, well, okay, they gave us a 7. They kind of respect us. And that team won 30 games and was ranked. Well, they've now won 30 games and been ranked each of the last 3 years. They keep getting 11s and 12s. The program is like, wait a minute. In the middle of last decade, you made us a 7. What's going on?
And I got you. But my point is that if unless you're going to be a 7, you could argue being where they are as a 12 is a better spot to be than an 8-9. The 1 seeds are so damn dominant in the women's college basketball tournament that if you're an 8-9, hey, great. Your reward, you're going to go get your ass kicked by South Carolina. And at least it gives them a better chance to win 2 games. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on them, but if they get the first one, well, and who's the 4th seed? Indiana?
I think it's Nova. I think that's
Nova. I'm sorry, because they're in Nova. Yeah, it's Nova.
Yeah, and you're right. Being an 11 and especially a 12, 13 gives you a better chance to win 2, but it makes your first game harder.
Yep.
Better chance to go 2-0 because you're right. Like South Florida, I believe, is in the 8-9 game in which if they win, they're going to play South Carolina and their season's over. In theory, Mark, FGCU can win 2 games and then lose to South Carolina in the Sweet 16.
So that's about, trying to make this glass half full. That's how I'll spin it. But it's unfortunate because what they should probably be is more like a 6-7 seed every year. They really and truly should. Because the other thing that the net doesn't ever take into consideration is the fact that no one will play FGCU. The fact that they actually were able to get Duke and who was it?
Stanford
to play them is remarkable in Kentucky. They do a lot better than the men do, quite frankly. But it's still, they don't get anybody in state to schedule them. They don't get any of the mid-major programs to schedule them. Tough road for Karl Smesko.
But they're 32-3, and they're ranked in the coaches poll just outside the top 25 in the AP poll. And, he's, quite frankly, he's got a Hall of Fame resume. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, he really could. If he were to do this for 15 more years, and you throw in one decent tournament run, I'm telling you, there is a chance 15 years from now that Karl Smesko goes into the Basketball Hall of Fame because his numbers are staggering. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Happy St. Patrick's Day, the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi.
The line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, KW, I find those productivity lost in dollar things hilarious because that basically says no one plays grab ass at work the rest of the year. It's just what they play grab ass doing. That thing I was talking about, that Restaurant Depot thing, sounds like it was a damn hit.
That's unbelievable.
Guy was going into his car and someone unloaded a full clip on him and put another clip in and unloaded that on him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was that really necessary?
I like Restaurant Depot.
Have you ever been inside one?
Yeah, I'm a member.
What? How?
Because I own a business.
That's all it takes? I thought you need to like own a restaurant.
You own a business.
Oh my. You gotta take me one day. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I got to get a new card. Now, I lie when I go in there and say what my business is because it's Miller and Moulton LLC, and I just tell them it's a catering company. But what do they know?
There it is.
It's really cold in the frozen air, and it's freezing. It's the coldest place in North America, but it's dirt. They had fresh seafood. It's dirt cheap. If you want to buy things in big, it's like Costco on because it's for restaurants. So you can get things really inexpensively. Right, KW, exactly. Like at this radio station when I used to work here, from 8:30 until 10, no one worked ever. Do they count that hour and a half of productivity? And then as salespeople, how do they know what I'm doing? There's days I went home the whole day.
30 seconds. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, all coming up in a little less than 20 minutes. The madness begins on this station at the top of the hour. Sheeman and Shepard, the madness begins at noon. Sheeman and Shepard join you at the top of the hour. By the way, just to reiterate, if you think that, too much of a homer and full of blank with what we said about Smesko, since they've gone Division I, he and theirs winning percentage is 84.4%. Gino Auriemma and Kim Mulkey, the only two with a better winning percentage. This is their 16th year Division I. Gino Auriemma, Kim Mulkey. The last 4 seasons, now obviously they're going to lose at some point this year. The last 4 years, they've lost 3 games each season. They have as many 30-win seasons as they have non-30-win seasons over like the last 14 years. Their tournament record is 3-8. They have lost a ton of heartbreakers. Couple in overtime. They got absolutely zebraed at Miami. 2 awful calls both went against them in the final 10 seconds. They lost on 2 free throws by 2. And that's why a lot of people who follow that program are like, man, can they just, something you need about, like we were talking about earlier in the show. If you think about it, the Furman coach wanted them to foul, and there was a miscommunication between the players and the coach as to what defense to run.
So I'm listening to the post-game interview on radio. I happened to be driving around when the Furman game was on, and I catch the end of the game, and I've got satellite radio, so I'm listening to the actual broadcast and the post-game.
Right.
And they interview the conference player of the year that plays for Furman, and he's doing a great job giving a great interview, and he says, what about the press? And I believe he said he looked over and signaled for a different press to the coach, and the coach misunderstood the signal and said 1-3-1. And the interviewer says, so basically miscommunication was the key to victory. And the player says, absolutely, smiling and laughing. So they had 2 miscommunications in the same game. One leads to a turnover that gets them the 3-pointer. The other is the press that gets them back into the game.
Here's the irony, though, and I believe this in my soul. If any different time, I could go year by year, heartbreaking tournament game that they had, okay, I think if they had won any one of those games, a couple of those years, they were lined up to win the next game. Like, Mark, they lost an overtime game in 2012, and they lost that Miami game when they got zebraed by 2, and they were facing like 13 seeds in the next round if they had won those games.
The 2012 was the St. Bonaventure game, right?
Correct. And 13-seeded Marist had beaten Georgia before they played. So the winner of St. Bonaventure FGCU knew they were playing 13-seeded Marist. And FGCU had that game won. And
had it won
and let it get away and lost in overtime. And Karl Smesko might have been gone in 2012 if they win that game. That is the silver lining in all this. I'm telling you.
And now it's really difficult for Karl to get a job with a Power 5 school. A lot of pressure for women's basketball programs to hire women as head coaches. It's just the way that it is.
All right, men's tournament. First off, Florida schools winning today?
One of them will.
You're not going to say which one, are you?
Can you get back to me right after the VCU St. Mary's game?
So you are believing in the 5-12.
I just need to know who. If you can tell me that VCU is going to win, then the Canes are going to move on.
Listen, I was picking Drake all week until when the draw came out Sunday night. I was picking Drake. Monday night, I'm picking Drake. We talked to Coach Larinaga Tuesday. He sounded pretty confident. We tried to get in and talk about Drake and what they bring to the table, and this is probably their best team. And then we talked about they like to play a rock fight, and he was like, yeah, we got no problems with a rock fight. We played Virginia, and he starts rattling off the rock fight teams. He's like, listen, he basically was like, we'll be fine. He sounded very confident, and he made it sound to us like he wasn't even counting on, who is it, a cheer?
No, with an O. Who's the kid that's missing the game for Miami, the injured player?
Oh, Norchad.
Norchad
Omir.
I knew it was no, I just couldn't get the rest of it.
And he didn't sound confident that he was going to play. Now, I have to admit, apparently the kid working out yesterday in the shoot-around looked good. That folks now think he's going to play today.
He's been practicing.
Yeah. So
he's the kind of player in March Madness especially that you need.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Beast
Although
on the
not
board.
necessarily against Drake, but I think you'd need him after Drake. But Mark, I have to admit, I'm going with the Canes. Memphis pressure concerns me for FAU.
You scared me last week when you
I'm
basically
scared.
predicted
I'm
this
scared
matchup.
for both of them. I am rooting hard for both Florida teams.
You got to be.
The coaches have been gracious to us. I want them to win. I'm scared to death for Miami in a 5-12 game. We've been talking about this for 2 weeks, that the 5-12 line was going to be difficult. And so far, the 5s are 2-0. They're not going 4-0.
A 12 has won a game in like 23 of the last 24 NCAA tournaments. VCU's a 12 against St. Mary's at 2 o'clock, and then you got Drake Miami tonight. Is there an upset you like tonight or today? And I mean, USC over Michigan State in a 7-10, that to me, that's not an upset. 6-11 isn't even an upset to me.
Oh, okay, because I was going to start with NC State's going to beat Creighton. That's the first thing I was going to tell you, but that's a 6-11, so that doesn't count.
Not really. I will say, because NC State, everybody dogged them for getting in, it would maybe a little bit.
Kent State's going to beat Indiana.
Ooh.
You want one? Give me Kent State today against Indiana.
Look at you.
It'll end sometime tomorrow, about 12:30 in the morning.
Well, I'm going to go with your 11 over 6 and take Pitt over Iowa State. I know it doesn't count, but I'm just saying, you throw one out there that doesn't
I'm with you on that one as well. I called that one before even Pitt won the game. I just don't think Iowa State's they're really struggle offensively. And if they don't get it going, they're in trouble.
I don't want to pick the same upset as you, so I'll tell you what. If we get one today, if we get, Montana State over Kansas State.
Oof. That would be fascinating to me if the Big 12, loses a couple of these upset games, because their stock is very high. Teams we talked about this earlier. Baylor is a 3. K-State's a 3. Kansas is a 1. Texas is a 2.
Now, don't get me wrong. I want K-State to go on a run. The Keontae Johnson story, I want him to play as much ball as possible. But, a 3-14 game, single-digit point spread. Montana State's a veteran team. This is the first time this group at K-State, bunch of transfers, is dancing. They might be nervous.
Drake in Miami still scares me. I think the Canes are going to win, but I think it's going to be a really close game. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap to finish off the week. It's all next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the bayfront has canoes, sandboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I'll tell you what, Michael, if they win today, I think you've got an actual shot at it. There's a lot of people that are picking the Gauchos to upset Baylor. Not me, but there are people who are. Creighton's overrated if you get them, or NC State. Certainly not that crazy. We'll see today, Mello, because I don't think they beat NC State.
I got them going to the Sweet 16, Mello, so I hope you're right.
I have Baylor to the Final Four. I don't know if anyone else does, but I do.
Actually, that guy that we were supposed to have on at 7:38 had Baylor, K-State, Houston, and Gonzaga.
I had Baylor, K-State, Houston, and Kansas, I think.
It's your bracket. I don't know who you had.
I just want to know if it makes sense.
Yes.
Yes, Kansas. Wow, so he has Gonzaga beating Kansas. Wow. By the way, just saying, you guys are the ones that said that Keontae shouldn't play anymore. Look at him now. That he should take the money. But now he's going to get an NBA bag.
Are we sure?
I think I mean.
Are we sure? Are we sure they're going to draft him? Are we sure they're going to spend a first round?
No one's going to pick a first round pick on him. So
that's
he's
guaranteed money.
He'll work his way into the NBA.
Now that's a different story. Okay. But if he's not a first round pick, he won't have guaranteed money.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. 16 until we're out of here. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You ready?
Let's do this. Let's get right after it because we got a lot of what's on tap today.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1905. Einstein finishes a scientific paper detailing the quantum theory of light, one of the foundations of modern physics. How are you in physics, David?
Not very good.
I had physics in my senior year, and I was already accepted at Michigan State. It's as close as I've ever come to flunking a class. I pretty much took the last semester of physics off. I think they just passed me to get me the hell out of that school. 1930, construction of the Empire State Building begins. 1955, after Maurice Richard is suspended for the remainder of the season, riots break out in Montreal. 37 people are injured. Over 100 are arrested. Richard goes on the radio in the morning to ask citizens to stop vandalizing the city.
If you think about it, the Canadians have been tossing cars and burning cars and stuff ever since over hockey. They're the nicest people in the world, nicest country in the world. Unless it involves a Canadian hockey team. Then they lose their minds.
65, the Beatles announced their second film is titled 8 Arms to Hold You. They would change it to Help. I think it worked. 2019, Rory wins the biggest check in golf at the time, $2.25 million, by beating Jim Furyk by 1 at the Players. And 3 years ago, the French Open becomes the first Grand Slam to postpone to COVID. And UEFA announces postponement of the UEFA Euro 2020 because of COVID. Those celebrating birthdays that are no longer with us, Bobby Jones, Sammy Baugh, and Nat King Cole. Cito Gaston and Patty Boyd are 79 today. Patrick Duffy, 74. For those of you who don't know, that's Bobby Ewing from Dallas. That was really for Miller and Moulton, no one else. Kurt Russell, 72. Gary Sinise is 68. Danny Ainge is 64. Rob Lowe is 59. Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins is 56. Stormy Daniels is 44. And Katie Ledecky is 26 years old today. And that's all I've got. This was not a historically relevant day.
What the heck are you talking about?
it's not a historically relevant day. In 461, St. Patrick died.
Got that on me.
So we celebrate the day over a death.
Yeah. Births or deaths, that's usually how we do this.
I don't know if you're aware. Easter weekend's kind of a big deal.
Right. And as deaths go, it's considered number one. We're just saying.
You went there.
Well, you
opened the door.
I opened the door, yeah.
You were the heckler to the comedian on stage, and he didn't want to embarrass you in front of your friends and family and the whole deal, but you went just a little too far with too big of an opening.
The alley to the oop. You know, a year ago, St. Peter's beat Kentucky. We've talked about this, but that was pretty incredible.
It was. And that was today was a day when. So there.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I had two goods today, which is very rare. But I limited it to just one because one was probably more on my wavelength and the other one's a little better as far as a good goes. We go to Oregon, where a hiker, a photographer who was hiking up in the mountains, used his drone to attach his phone to after he got stranded in a snowdrift. Got the phone up on the drone over the tree line so he could MacGyver an SOS text and get rescued. Casey Ryan did this back on January the 19th when he was in the Willamette National Forest hiking. Got stuck in a snowdrift and had to use the drone to get the phone over the tree line to get help. That's high-level MacGyver stuff right there.
High-level MacGyver stuff.
For the bad, we go to Florida, where because it's been warmer earlier, I wouldn't walk your dogs at dusk. Alligator mating season has started much earlier.
Oh, no.
Just a warning.
Stay away from those lakes.
Just a warning. Big males, once they have their territory, they will chase everything out of their territory and then slowly start letting females in. So stay away. For the ugly, we go to Maine, where vanity license plates are available in all 50 states, but Maine let you have a few more license plates that were deemed inappropriate. They recalled 274 of them. Some people are fighting back, like this guy who has the license plates, Love Tofu, LUVTUFU.
Excuse me?
Love Tofu. He has tofu stickers all over his car as well. He's a vegan, and he is saying that he is being unfairly picked on because they want to recall his license plate, LUVTOFU. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly. On today, this St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, 2023.
All right, very quickly. 8 NBA games tonight. Not a lot of interest in any of them, except maybe the last game of the night. Dallas is at the Lakers, although I don't know if either Kyrie or LeBron are playing, or Luka for that matter.
So who cares? Put on March Madness.
4 games in the NHL. Carolina, Toronto's the best game. It's on NHL Network at around 7 if you're a puckhead. World Baseball Classic tonight. If you want to see some of the atmosphere that many of us have been raving about, Puerto Rico and Mexico, 7 o'clock, FS1 from Miami. That's tonight in a quarterfinal. Winner advances. U.S. plays Venezuela tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in Miami in a quarterfinal. Winner advances. All right, you ready?
I've got them all right here in front of me.
Let's go.
USC, Michigan State, get us started today at 12:15. That one's on CBS.
I'm going with USC. That's only because of my friendship with the coach. You should take the Spartans.
I think the biggest thing going against USC is they got to wake up. It's a 9:15 start for them. I really think that's a bad break.
They're a slow starting. Sorry, Mark. They're a slow starting team, and that's when they're used to playing at 7 o'clock at night, not 9:15 in the morning. Their body clock.
Kennesaw State and Xavier, 4-13 game. Rooting for the A-Sun team, but I don't think they have much of a chance, David.
I don't like the fact also it's their first trip, no experience. I'll put it this way. I'm very worried about the first 10 minutes for Kennesaw State. Very worried. I think they could be down 21-8 in this game mid-first half.
I thought Seth Davis, when the show came out, liked the Gauchos against Baylor. I've got Baylor winning a few games. That's the next game on tap. If Baylor gets through this one, they could win 3 games.
Yeah, I'm taking Baylor.
I am as well. VCU St. Mary's, who do you got?
All over VCU. I was all over them when the brackets were unveiled. And the fact that both 12s lost yesterday makes me love them even more.
I'll take St. Mary's. Vermont and Marquette, a 2:15 game at 2:45. I know we're both taking Marquette.
This is not Vermont's best team. All right. Vermont's had a bunch of good teams over this 20-year run. This is not seen as one of Vermont's elite teams. And if you're Marquette and you can go through the Big East tournament the way you've gone through the Big East this year, they won the regular season and the tournament, it's difficult for me to imagine that all of a sudden Vermont on a neutral floor is going to be your downfall.
NC State and Creighton's the next game. I like NC State in this game. David likes Creighton. NC State getting is able to play the disrespect card because they're the team that no one said should have got a bid. Iona and UConn will be fun to watch. That's at 4:30 to see if Pitino's got any shot at UConn. I don't think they do.
I don't think he's got the horses. This is a pretty talented UConn team, but I will say this is an experienced Iona team.
Fairleigh Dickinson and Purdue as we start the night session at 6:50 tonight. How many does the big fella score against a team that doesn't have a player above 6'6"?
If I set the over-under 20.5, which way are you going?
For the big guy?
Yeah.
David, if you set it at 30.5, I might go over.
Okay.
He scores 20 every damn game. You got to set it. I mean,
I don't know. They might, usually in college basketball, when that happens, you swarm the big man.
So what? They're a swarm with a bunch of 6'6" guys. He's 7'4".
Okay. He averages 22 and change a game. If I set the over under at 22.5, his average.
I'll go over.
Okay. Fair enough.
Providence and Kentucky. How much of a shot do you give Providence, David?
Oh, absolutely. Kentucky is a train wreck, but Providence has been a train wreck. I actually like John Cal. I like Kentucky. I'm going to take Providence because I know Cooley's team is going to play like a bunch of wild dogs. They play hard.
Yeah, I think Kentucky wins it. Miami and Drake's the next one up.
Going with the Canes.
I'm reluctantly going with the Canes. I may change this on Twitter after the final of the VCU St. Mary's game. Grand Canyon and Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga wins and covers in this game, by the way.
Yeah, I actually don't think this is Grand Canyon's best team, but and I love the Zags. I think the Zags may do to Grand Canyon what Duke did to Oral Roberts yesterday. I think the Zags are on a roll.
Totally with you. Florida Atlantic and Memphis as we start the late session. I picked Florida Atlantic. I'm pulling for them. This is going to be a really difficult game for Florida Atlantic.
Rooting for FAU, picking Memphis. I like the fact that this is the second tournament appearance for this Memphis group. This is the debut for FAU. I think that could prove costly.
Montana State and K-State. We'll see what Montana State has for the number 3 seeded K-State team.
That's my upset. That's my big one today. I'll go Montana over Kansas State.
Mine today is Kent State over Indiana. That starts at 10 o'clock tonight. And then the final game is Arizona State and TCU. TCU, the 6th seed, against Arizona State that won the play-in against Nevada.
I like Arizona State, by the way, in this one. So, like the 11s I'm taking today. You're taking NC State. I'm taking Pitt against Iowa State. I'm taking Arizona State against TCU. I'm taking Providence against Kentucky. So I'm riding 3 11s today.
And I'm taking 2 11s. So you and I are out there a little bit as far as the 11s go. Just in case you're wondering, Saturday, the early game is San Diego State and Furman. That's what gets us going. Tennessee and Duke is the second game. That should be a really good game as we get into the round of 32.
They're both in Orlando, right?
Yes. Might be worth a drive up in the morning or drive over for you.
I actually have a credential. I actually could go. I actually filled out some paperwork.
Look at that.
Oh. If I wasn't sick, I would have gone yesterday. But I think it's obnoxious to bring your coal to an arena with 19,000 people.
Well, more like 12,000, but I do get the point.
No. Well, I know for the nightcap it was I know for the nightcap it was nearly full.
It was, but it wasn't during the day.
No.
There were a lot of empty seats.
Yeah, it was. But it's kind of obnoxious. You're sitting there with your box of tissues. It's like, really, dude?
You can take the kind of out of it.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, it is obnoxious. Enjoy St. Patty's Day, everybody. Be safe out there. It's going to take a little longer to get an Uber than normal, but it's worth it.
Gesicki signs with the Patriots already this morning. NFL free agency continues.
Don't they know there's brackets to talk about?
Well, that's why. I mean, they got most of the work done by Thursday morning. I mean, they really did. I mean, it's just, it's Belichick. He's not paying attention to the brackets. That's why he's just getting to work. He's calling people. He's like, how come guys aren't picking up their phones? What are they doing?
On to free agency.
FGCU women tomorrow afternoon. I think it's at 2:30. FGCU baseball tonight, Saturday, Sunday afternoon. Conference opener against Liberty. 2 top 40 teams in the country. FGCU nationally ranked. You can get a beer. I'm just saying. Miller and Moulton. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day.